reach them at the hospital?
Someone shot there.
All right, the ET doesn't take pictures of the, is it domestic related?
Yes, it is.
She's calling back. We're going to try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson who's possibly with the daughter. Step out with this.
2412.
Veteran crisis hotline calling in, so they have a female veteran off her medication. She's at work to Safe Haven. Detecting 12, check that one out.
6 1 bullet, 2 point start, take your shots.
Also still stands for time? No.
Offender in custody?
Temporary with thanks. Anyone else close, wait to see result, let me know. 10-5, sir. Coming over with a domestic battery at 18
All right. Let's see. Let me know if that music is too loud. Oh, we got Yoli up here too. Hold on one second. There we go. We got Yoli. I apologize. This is oh. Oop, I got an echo. Let me see here. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm not sure. Here we go. Whoa. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, hold on a minute. This is not working out right. I apologize. What? Hold on one second. This is interesting. I'm still learning. Give me 1 second. I guess we have to add everybody. This is crazy. All right. Just give me 1 second. I think they can hear you though. I'm not sure. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Let's see. I guess I could. One moment here. So I thought I had everybody kind of preset, but it did not work out that way. So I'm trying to get everybody, and I'll make sure to do this on all the other ones. So there we go. How about that?
Yeah.
There we go.
There
Okay.
we go.
All right. There we go. I need to do that before next time. Okay. All right. Can y'all hear me okay? Let me know.
Yes.
Is the music too loud?
We can hear you, but I can't put my... Oh, yes, we can hear you.
There she is. Hi, Yoli.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Ollie.
Hi. Nice
Excited.
to meet you.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice to
Hi,
meet you.
Diane.
Thank you all for hopping in. Appreciate you. And then we got the chat rolling up on the screen for you as well.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Some different music. What's up, Mishy girl? It's good to see some old folks in here again. What's up, Yoli and Commercial, Kathy and Audrey? Thank you all for hopping in. I think Nina, do me a favor, email me and I'll email you a link. For some reason it says she was getting just a loading studio. Did any of you guys get that when you were trying to join? Just loading studio?
No.
No.
I mean, it did say that for a little bit, and then it loaded.
Okay. Maybe just wait a minute, Nina.
I think she's been trying for a while.
Has she? All right. Let me see if she emailed me real quick. Let's see. No, I do not have an email yet. Yeah, do me a favor. Email me. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
There she is.
Oh, we got to do this and do this. Hold on 1 second. For some reason, there we go. You guys probably saw all that moving around, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hi,
we go.
hey, Kitty.
What's up, Nina?
She has.
Her mic might be muted.
Yeah.
What's up, Nina?
Hold up.
No problem.
Do we get to
Mic might
chat?
be muted.
Yeah.
What's up, Nina?
Hold up.
No problem.
Do we get to chat?
Oh, do me a favor. Here, go ahead and unmute it when you get that. Whenever you get it figured out. What's up, Yoli?
Oh, I
Having
was-
technical difficulties.
It's a new thing I'm trying out. I figured I'd try it out and see how it works. I was pretty impressed with the presentation and how everything looks. Everybody said it looks clear. Everybody's talking about how clear it sounds, so hopefully how everything looks. Everybody said it looks clear. We're getting an
He's
echo.
talking about how clear it sounds.
Yeah, I think you have two screens, CJ, at the bottom. Maybe you have two open.
We're getting
That's
an
why you're
echo.
getting feedback.
Clear it sounds.
I'm sorry, what?
You have two screens. If you look at the bottom where we're all listed here, you have two screens. I'm
Yeah.
first, then CJ, and then CJ, and then Audrey Oli.
Yeah,
Me.
that's a screen share with your poll.
Oh,
It's
that's
not
the
a-
poll. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. There's a. It doesn't seem to be doing it now. Okay.
Yeah, I don't hear any feedback now.
So, and thank you all for hopping in. Appreciate you. I'm going to drop the links
hear
for
me?
everybody. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
And then, do we get
Oh.
to chat?
Do you what?
Do we
Sorry.
get to chat? Because I don't see a way to chat.
Oh,
I'm not sure as a guest. Do any of you? Is there a way that you guys can
Okay.
chat?
Hmm.
Let's see. Everybody's in open chat.
everybody's
Busby was able to see him, so
open chat.
I still hear an echo. of it.
There's
Busby.
pull up your tab to chat.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't been a guest on here before. This is all brand new.
Hmm.
Is Busby in here? Is Busby in chat? There's private chat, comments. Let's see. There's no echo now. What's up, Pam? Has anybody used EVM? Does anybody else? Do you guys see chat? Kathy, Audrey, do you guys see chat too? Or?
I see
No?
our private chat, but not the like it says up here comments, and there's like 68 comments. That must be the feed. But
Oh.
you know, Andre, there it is. It's coming up now. Hey, Hella's here from the other side of the world. How are you?
Ella.
So you just click the top where it says comments.
Actually, it's a screen roll. It's like right under you, CJ. That's where I'm seeing it on my screen.
So I see it on the left, and I also see it on the screen. So I guess we can't chat, but that's okay.
Oh, you mean type?
Type, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Type and chat. We can't, I guess. but that's
Okay. Maybe guess not. What's up, Excited Utterance? How are you doing? Thank you for hopping in. Is the music too loud or?
I can't hear the music.
Oh, you can't hear the music? All right. Well, that's okay. That means it's pretty good level then. Me and Kathy and Audrey were talking in the background before the show started, and we were talking about the two topics that are being talked about with the Idaho 4 case right now, and that's the death penalty. The judge says that it stays. I never understood why it was argued in the first place.
Well,
Honestly, because he hasn't even been convicted yet. So
procedurally, that's where it has to be. It has to happen, like way before the trial. But I agree with you. It's just it's the man his name has been basically rolled through the mud. All of this pre-trial publicity, and now you have people thinking that if he is convicted, then the possible sentence is capital punishment. Yoli, what do you think?
Well, I couldn't sit through the whole death penalty hearing because most of it is for appeal. It's not something that the judge can decide, period. It's making a record for taking it up on appeal.
Okay, but don't most of these cases get an appeal anyway, right?
They do, but you got to they get an appeal to review, right? But there are certain specific, there are certain specific things that can be reviewed. I mean, it's an automatic appeal, but it's based on a review, like just a general review. Whenever there's death penalty,
Right.
whenever somebody's convicted of the death penalty, they get an automatic appeal for review. But that you can also bring up other arguments, and those arguments were what was brought up in the hearing. And the reason why the hearing took place, which I agree seemed premature, but the reason why they had it is because the judge scheduled those hearings. Procedurally, they have to come at a certain time, and so the judge scheduled them like deadlines. You have to file this by now, you have to file this by now. And so the death penalty motions were set to be heard.
I don't know. I remember because we went live that morning to do the court hearing, and I ended up just Go ahead, Audrey. Yeah, you guys can send her the link if you want. I was just sitting there like, why are we even arguing this? Because so I guess a better question is that what normally takes place then? And I'm just only noticing it because it's Idaho 4 or what? I mean,
Yeah.
I've never noticed, and maybe it's normal, I've never noticed that this you argue something before it even takes place, and then there's new laws that go into effect too, right? Or is this something that it goes based off of the law of that date? Like, how does that even work when it comes to the death penalty?
Well, since I don't practice criminal law and I certainly don't do death penalty litigation, I don't know, but I know that the judge set the hearing dates for these death penalty motions. So I don't, it did seem premature to me. But these are things, all of it was really for appeal. The judge really couldn't decide it.
Yeah. It was just the motion or whatever, huh?
It was to make a record.
I was impressed on how quick he was. Do you remember the days when we were in Latah County, how long you'd have to wait sometimes for a ruling, it seemed?
Yeah, Judge.
Right? And
you lost.
I for one, I like the way that Hitler is running this. I think he's running it almost like an appellate proceeding, because oral argument is what these things were. We're going to have oral argument on the 23rd, possibly the 24th, on all of the motions to suppress. And people were like, well, he's cutting them off. That's not a time for you to go over your entire motion. It's like you've raised 2 or 3 points, you answer Hitler's questions, and that's it. I like the way he's running it. I mean, last week he came up with a couple of orders. He could have really cut the defense off at their knees, because they submitted a Frank's hearing motion, 2,000 plus pages. There was a lot of information there. Dude, you want him to rule in your favor, make it easy for him. So they just got, that's the last, second to last thing that's on the docket is the last thing is the filing. It was the stipulation that all of the meat and potatoes to the re-noticed motion for a Frank's hearing was submitted under seal. So we don't know which affidavits are being challenged. And he gave us a hint. Hitler did. He talked about the change, the time, the 2011 to 2013 business being changed by the expert. And
No, go ahead.
I'm not used to the judge type of, it would drive me crazy because judges have to keep their courtroom in control. They have to make sure they follow up with the deadlines. And back then there were orders and things weren't complied with and nothing happened.
Right.
And, a part of that is going to be on the defense, because they should have held the prosecution in contempt. They should have made the further motion to hold them in contempt for not producing stuff, but things would get lost. Like orders, I mean, an order has to mean something. And so when you give an order, a judge gives an order, and then it's just not complied with, he can hold them in contempt. But also the defense has to do something too. And it just seemed lost. Everything just seemed, it would take ages for outcomes and orders to come out, that you would even forget that there was a motion for such and such.
Yeah, he was stopping by Floyd's getting the gummies before.
Or stopping by to see Bill Thompson play guitar, right?
He's getting them gummies before court. You'd see him sometimes. He'd be sitting just leaning back, just dozing. He'd have like a half grin, looking up in the sky. It's like, dude.
Audrey, how about how long it took him to rule on the IGG? I mean, that went on, and I know that's your area of the DA. That IGG is critical, and it was a simple motion to compel. It went on and on. What did you think?
Yeah,
I think it took a while, and then I think that there were some parts in there where he was very thoughtful, but then there were other parts where I think there was a quote that said, well, the prosecution said they didn't use it for probable cause. Well, okay, they said that, but I don't know if that's actually true.
Hi, Hella.
Yeah, come on.
Hey! Hey, guys. Hey, CJ. Thanks for having me.
Hey, what's up? No problem.
Hey.
It'd be hard. Listen, let's be honest. It'd be hard to make any decisions in those court hearings because of the shoddy, all of the shoddy that you have to look through. I mean, what's up with the whole PA failure to read BK as Miranda rights stuff, right? What's that about?
Well, I mean, I can tell you. What they're saying is they're trying to exclude statements that BK made when they arrested him the way they did in Pennsylvania when they broke down the windows and, went in there, no-knock warrant.
Right.
And they just busted in his family home and held everybody under, with guns, held them all in zip ties. Anyway, so they're saying that during that process, BK made statements, and he might have made statements at the time he was being taken away in the car. And so because they're saying that his Miranda rights were not given to him, any statements he made should be excluded. And so I'm not sure what the test is, but I know that if he reasonably believed that he was under arrest, which he probably did, I don't think it excuses him from not giving him his Miranda rights. So, those are questions, and there's a conflict of law actually.
Yeah.
Because Pennsylvania and Idaho have different standards. So one of the things they're trying to exclude is what he said. Allegedly, he said, was anybody else arrested? Now, because I don't know where his parents were at the time that they got BK, and it sounds like they had everybody at gunpoint. So he's probably thinking, did anybody else in my family get arrested? Or, I don't know. Who knows what he's thinking?
Right.
I mean, we don't know. So they're trying to basically get rid of his statements because he wasn't read his Miranda rights when he was arrested and taken in.
Defense is trying to have Idaho's, right, Yoli?
Yes.
The conflict, they want Idaho, but I find this whole situation in Pennsylvania very suspect, I must say, because one thing that we do know in discovery, we found out many, many months ago, and Yoli, I think that we talked about this one time before, there's no body cam footage of the arrest. There's none. Right. And all of those officers that were in there, not one had a body cam on.
And there was like a whole army of people. There was like a swarm. Meanwhile, the FBI was watching. They were already surveilling him. Right. They were watching him running. He would run in his area, take a run. He would go for a run. Like, why couldn't they arrest him there? Wait for his routine.
That wouldn't have been so movie worthy.
Right. Hello, right. It's not.
That's
not the way they do it.
Yeah, I
at all.
did 2 videos on this fugitive warrant because they arrested him under the fugitive warrant, and it did come up. I was right. It did come up, and Jay Logston is arguing that, the law in Pennsylvania is such that you either have to have probable cause to arrest somebody under the fugitive warrant, or you have to have a governor's warrant. Either or, without one or the other, you can't do it. And so they're trying to say that it's reciprocity, that they can take another state's warrant and piggyback on that. But that's not exactly right, according to the law that Jay Logston cited as Pennsylvania law. And I looked it up, and sure enough, the statute that they arrested him under calls for fugitive, meaning he fled justice, he had criminal charges pending somewhere else, he took off. No, that's not the case here.
He didn't
No,
have any
I mean, he just went across the country like a million other college students do to spend time with family. It wasn't as if he was, there was a warrant that was issued before he left Pullman, right? And
Yeah.
so,
No,
but
they were still looking for a 2011-2013 Hyundai through December 15th and the 16th.
yeah,
That was when he was driving. So
Right.
he was already on the road when they did an interview with local news, and Fry even told you 2011 to 2013. So
Right.
It's just the other thing too is now what's interesting to me is we got the Franks hearing that's on the table. I does anyone here think that the affidavit of probable cause will be one of the items that will be cited to? I think it will be. I think it's an
Well, I
excellent.
think that is. It's Blake and Officer Blake and Payne. Their 2 affidavits are what the Franks motion is probably about. Yeah.
Well, the Pennsylvania warrant was issued on the strength of a second Brett Payne statement. He made the statement that was in the affidavit of probable cause. It's document 1 on the docket, Idaho versus Koberger. But then he went into more detail. There's a second one that has additional pages. So I'm wondering, let's just say that defense is successful in getting this affidavit of probable cause either struck in part or struck totally. What's that do about then everything else afterwards, Jolie? Would that then be fruit of the poisonous tree, or how will that work?
Well, first, in the memorandum of points and authorities and the law, first the judge has to grant them a hearing on it.
Mm-hmm.
So if he looks at the paperwork and he says, no, I'm not going to grant the hearing, then we're done. But if he grants the hearing, then they get to submit more paperwork and argue the motions. Okay, so then I don't know if those motions are going to be under seal, but I don't think that they should be.
Yeah, they will be. I think they will be. Most of those hearings are, and I mean, look, everything's under seal here. With Hella, the favorite 1, 2, 2, 4, 5, cut and paste objections that they have raised in this super secret case. Absolutely, Yoli, I can't see this Franks hearing being published. It should be. I mean, they wouldn't even have the hearing as to what they were going to pay Ann Taylor per hour when it's the taxpayers who are footing that.
Hang on a minute. I spoke to Andrea about this. When Andrea was on my stream, I asked her, and she said that the Franks hearing has to be public.
Ah.
Yep. And I said,
Really?
what's the deal? What's the deal with that? But there's so much stuff that's under seal. Maybe they'll have to go in camera for parts of it. And she said, yeah, I don't know how they're going to deal with that. But you're right. I don't know how they'll get around it. But the Franks hearings have to be public.
Maybe what they'll do is, like in the past, what he's done, he'll have like, at least I'm thinking back to the judge days, Hella, where he would have like a closed hearing in the morning and then open to the public in the afternoon. So maybe it's one or the other.
Yep, you can't close off the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be the case because this is corruption, and the public, if there is, if the Frank's hearing is granted, that means that something untoward, like there was some misstatement or perjury or
Yeah,
misleading.
the whole idea is it's a investigation into something that's gone wrong, and it's an allegation towards the state. So therefore, you can't have that hidden.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of it, that's the whole point of a Frank's hearing. So to cover that up.
Do you think he's gonna? Because to me, Judge was just like so relaxadaisical. Like it was sickening. There was no order in the court. The prosecution got deadline after deadline after deadline for the same stuff.
CJ,
I mean,
it
almost
was
a year.
way above his pay grade. Come on.
Oh yeah, I mean, I felt like he was That's why it took him weeks to come up with a decision, because it would literally, he would sit there and just indecisive. It was back and forth because, I mean, come on, anybody can look at what was turned over and it's like, okay. Do you think the new judge is gonna, like, I don't know. I see a lot of him siding with the prosecution, but I don't know if that's just the normal.
There are some things here we need to sort of understand in terms of the levels of the professionals and where they sit in the pecking order here. So we've got the local county people, we have the later county people, and then we have what they're used to dealing with. And this is a really big case. And I've frozen. Have I frozen? No. It's a really, really big case, and they're not used to it. So Bill Thompson, he's never dealt with something on this kind of scale before. Judge, this was well out of his wheelhouse.
Well,
like, he's never seen anything like this before.
It's a little teeny town in the north of Idaho. There ain't nothing there.
Exactly.
There ain't nothing there.
Boise
they're
and
used
County,
to.
they're used to big cases. They're used to your Laurie Vallows and Daybell and stuff like that.
That's why I always felt from the beginning it needed to go to Boise from the very beginning.
You were always saying
when
that.
like when we're talking, that's kind of the reason why we came up with our Uncovering the Cover series about the frats and all the connections with the city and how they're basically using students to keep the bad calls down, but the calls up in a sense for the more funding. It's why when they showed up, Lanier showed up, he pulls up in his car. Before he even gets out of his car, he's calling ISP, telling them that, there's no way we can handle this situation. They're used to just making noise complaints and finding underage underage drink. I mean, let's be honest. What percentage of a college population is 21 or older? A third. So really,
it's
you
a
got
college town.
Yeah, you got 2/3. Your little undercover bust underage drinker program that you got there rolling around in undercover cars. You're gonna succeed in writing tickets and making money off those because you're 2/3. I mean, those are great odds. If you flip a coin and 2 out of 3 you're gonna win, I mean, those are great odds. So yeah, right when they showed up, they couldn't handle the situation.
Exactly.
So that's why, when it comes to like Thompson and how he was throwing his baby fits in the beginning, it probably worked in the beginning because there was no attention in that courtroom and everybody knows everybody and there's connections and grandpappies and generations. And so it kind of sways, decisions and things like that. It's their town. They've been running it for generations. But when it comes to this attention, that's why it all became a shit show, because none of them were experienced enough to do any of it. This judge is, and I feel that because of how quick he is to let's go, which is great.
If I could interject also, I think that he is more of an independent type person. I mean, he threw shade, basically, in my opinion, at the Idaho Supreme Court because they picked him. They said, "You will be now the judge." First comment out of his mouth when he walks into the courtroom at the case management conference. I'd like to say I'm happy to be here, but why start off with an untruth? I mean, so it's like I don't see him as being a yes person as much as maybe someone else. I think he's going to rule. You know, he doesn't crack a smile. He is as serious can be. He is on top. And somebody had said here, wasn't Jay supposed to be arguing? Yes, Jay was supposed to be arguing those death penalty. And I'm sure that Hitler didn't like him coming in 3 hours late. He told the defense, you know, if you had asked for an extension of time, don't wait until the last minute. You know, so you know what you have with him.
But he threw shade at everybody in that first conference, right?
He did. He did.
He did not throw shade at.
I think that was to lay down the law in the very beginning. Look, you just had this POS being so squishy, marshmallow. You could poke him and he wasn't going to do nothing. It ain't happening with me, so let me set that straight right now so we can get this thing knocked out and have it done and over with. Because he probably don't even want the attention himself. You know,
no, he doesn't care. Yeah. He doesn't care who wins or loses. I don't think. I think he just wants this thing done.
Do you guys think, and that's what I'm saying, do you guys think that this judge is going to really do the things that Judge should have done? Or do you think he's going to continue down that? Because judges don't like to change other judges' stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think he gives a shit.
That's true. They don't like to change other judges' stuff. That's true.
So what's done is done, right? I mean, in the past, what's done is done. There's only some outstanding discovery, and he was fair in his ruling when because the defense made a motion for leave to extend the discovery motion cutoff date, and he denied it, and he stated his reasons for doing so, and it was because they filed it on the eve of the deadline when they had from the status conference month. Yeah, they had a long time to file it. So he denied it and saying that, yes, you don't file something on the eve of the deadline. Number two, he referenced it as a naked motion for leave to extend the discovery motion cutoff date. And he said naked because normally when you're going to ask for leave, especially on a discovery motion, you have to give an affidavit stating, this is what I've reviewed, this is what I have yet to review, this is how much information I have, this is how much staff I have, this is how we're going about it, the process of going about looking at it. You got to give the judge information for good cause.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what they have not been. They just they raise what's supposed to be like, here's one, and it got raised again last week. We have to keep this information off the docket because there are facts in here that if it's made public, it could endanger the life or safety of individuals. And I do not understand this objection. Mr. Koberger is the sole defendant who has ever been arrested. He does not get day passes. He's not going to be able to get on the phone and harass anyone or endanger anyone. That seems to tell me that there's someone on the loose that could possibly do that. But there's no, like what you said just there, Yoli, you got to give good cause. Explain how it possibly is that if this Mount Everest of documents that you already have kept from the public and you want to add more, how could someone's life or safety be endangered if the only defendant who has ever been arrested has been behind bars continuously? Can anyone raise that?
Yeah.
How do you raise that and not give, like what Jolie just said, good cause? Here's the affidavit. Why, Judge?
And that's an added one, okay? Because in cases where there is no, motion to seal or sealing documents based on all these 4 factors, you have to give good cause even. I mean, like what you've done, but that's an additional one because it is under seal. So she needed to have explained that portion of it. So the first portion is good cause as to the status, what we've done, why we haven't been able to finish it,
Right.
how many people you have on it, when do you expect to get it done. These are things like like CJ, a business person, would want to know from their employees about a project, right?
Oh
You'd
yeah.
want to know details like what portion have you done, have you finished, what needs to be done, why can't you review the rest, how much time do you need to it's like a project, right? He's managing the project.
Yeah,
So
you
if
got
you
to have
don't give,
goals and timelines. Yeah.
yes, so if you don't give him any of that, it's naked. That's why he said naked.
Good. I'm glad.
Naked.
Hopefully he'll start ruling on some of these. I mean, we've had an initial discovery request and response, and then 19 supplemental. Each and every one of them responses and the service of under seal. Are you telling me there wasn't a memorandum that could have been redacted? Are you telling me that in all this video that they have, there's not a picture of a garbage can or a tree that could have been? Are you telling me every single email, every single photograph, all video of suspect vehicle, everything? If it's released to the public, it could. What's their reason? Oh, okay, endanger the life and safety of others, privacy, harm Mr. Koberger's right to a fair trial. All of those are true, but they don't. The public's right to know always takes a back seat in this case. I will fall over and probably if I ever see Hitler, and I hope Hitler does that and says, you know what? No, we got to start releasing some documents to the public. This is now 2 years,
that's
and we don't
actually
know what
why.
this case is
That's what I
about.
hope. That's what
That's
I hope.
actually why I thought, I think this judge, when he put the information on the website that how to request sealed records, remember that? There was something there that said how you can request sealed documents. Well, he wants those requests, okay? Because he wants to look at it again to see, is this something that should be sealed? Like, you get a request, you have to act on it. And a couple of creators did submit the form and they got denied. But I know of one creator, and I'll say his name, Andrew Myers. He submitted a request
Shout out.
and it's pending. It's pending.
Wow,
Ooh,
really?
So yes,
let me drop his channel too.
Hey, thank
yeah,
you,
it's
Andrew, in
pending.
the name of the First Amendment. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
So I think this judge was wise enough to know I need to, as a precaution, I need to see if these things are supposed to be sealed. And if people request, that means people want to know, then I need to look and see if this is something that I think the people should know and it shouldn't be sealed. Because things are being sealed as a matter of course here.
Absolutely. And that is my biggest problem with this case.
And if I could just say one last thing and then I'll shut up.
Oh, sorry, Yoli.
No, one last thing. If Brian Koberger is complaining of not having a fair trial because everybody's speculating and saying all these things, well, you know what? It's the gag order that is causing people to speculate.
That's
so
right.
It's the actual gag order that is causing everybody to fill in the voids. Yes.
From the beginning, because of the gag order, no photo of the vehicle.
No 911 call, no transcript. The things that law enforcement typically, no explanation for this 8-hour gap. We don't have one photo. Apparently, when the affidavit of probable cause came out, we learned that there was an eyewitness visual, apparently, of Mr. Koberger in the house, aka man clad in black guy. Why then didn't they call in an artist, get an artist rendition, put it out there, put out a picture of the car, and tell people in Moscow, stay away? You need to say. They released nothing. And it was all this trust us, like you say.
Right, yeah. They wanted, it was all, they've been used to doing the public opinion convictions forever. And that's what it was. Keep it all hush. Public opinion. You saw, think about it. Banfield, this is when News Nation went loony. When Banfield and all the people there at News Nation, MSNBC, all these other mainstream media, because this was the shift between us being the new news and everybody watching mainstream media for news was Koberger, and how they talked and for 2 months just had all this crazy stuff. Inside source, inside source. It was people from the investigation leaking information to push out a narrative for the public opinion. And then when stuff started to come out, stuff in court hearings started to be not connected, then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, these people were lying to us this whole time just for the clicks and views. That's when we became the news, because nobody watched. You see the results at MSNBC, how like only 50,000 from 18 to 35 watch NBC now. 50,000.
They're irrelevant.
That's it.
Nobody
trusts.
Narrative. I mean, it's just they push a narrative. They want to have their connections with the people in the know, so they support this nonsense. It is independent journalists like you guys, Yoli and Hella and CJ, that are out there asking questions. You're not out there saying, okay, he's guilty. But basically, how the heck can you have a timeline in the PCA of 4 to 4:25 a.m. when suspect vehicle 1 is still being seen in motion at 4:04 and seen speeding out of the neighborhood at 4:20? Could someone please help me understand how Brian Koberger got home if suspect vehicle 1 left 5 minutes before?
When I went there, nobody's speeding out of there. Ain't nobody speeding out of there. You almost hit the trash can when you're turning, and then it's just not happening. I'll show you guys the footage. It ain't happening. You're not speeding out of there. And where they showed the tire marks on the photos, you don't even get tire marks there from turning that corner at a high rate of speed. That came from something else. But this is the thing. When I was there on the year anniversary, I asked Washington State. I dressed up as Washington State student. I dressed up as an Idaho student. I got the garb, the baby face. I was out there talking to people. And I'm telling you, most of the people there didn't think that, if they either didn't think BK was the person that committed the crime, or they thought if BK was part of it, they didn't get whoever else was helping out. And this was both towns. Did they feel safe? No, they didn't feel safe. That was the main thing to me, is when I was talking to people, whether they believed that he was the person that did it or not, people did not feel safe. They still did the group, the walk together. It was starting to come around, but it was still fresh to them up there because they'd never experienced anything really like that before. But nobody's speeding out of there. There's no way.
But you see what I'm saying about the timeline? I mean, Brett Payne goes to Megan Marshall and she signs off on an affidavit.
Hold on.
There she is.
Sorry, I was having internet issues or something to do with the software. I don't know, but I just changed browser.
Oh, look at you.
Hold on one second.
I know, hella.
I'm still getting used to this here. Hold on one second.
Hello from Australia.
Is that where you're at, is Australia?
Yeah.
Is it? World.
All right,
it's next week.
So I gotta make sure I do this before I add. Okay, there we go. There we go.
Diane, that is correct. It is impossible for Brian Koberger to be in the house. The timeline of the crimes, they are stuck with it. I'm sorry, that's what's in the PCA. They can turn around and say it's irrelevant. No, it's not. PCA is always relevant. The timeline of the crimes per the PCA, 4 o'clock to 4:25. Suspect vehicle 1 is still seen circling at 4:04 and seen speeding out of the neighborhood at 4:20. Make that timeline. How does Megan Marshall sign off on that probable cause order? And that is just one error. Calling him Koberg, tracking the phone in Indiantown, Idaho, when Indiantown is in Washington. Changing his cell phone is 8458, then it's 8548. There's so many errors in that doc. Even the last page 18, 1122 King Street, he calls it. It was just such a rush job to get it out there, I think, because they needed to make sure that there wasn't a mass exodus out of the school.
It was a
That's
rush
my
job.
opinion.
It was a rush job because when I went out there because in order for me to recreate the PCA route turn by turn exactly, because I'm like, look, Idaho's a long way for me. I need to make sure that I get it right the first time. Measure twice, cut once. Okay. When I'm going through that PCA and I'm like, all right, it's only going to take me 30 minutes to jot it down. No, I literally had to pull out Google Maps and actually come up and do my own work for the route, because if you're writing a PCA and you know it's going to be used in court, do you not make sure that the cities are in the state that you're saying they're in? Do you make sure that the roads are the correct names?
Yeah, and
It was a rush job. Go ahead.
let me just say this: if I were a judge reviewing that probable cause affidavit, I would shred it I would say, no, you need to go back and fix this. I can't.
Thank you.
Especially when it comes to the DNA, and they talk about Idaho State, the Idaho State lab called and confirmed. Okay, well, the Idaho State lab is not a person. Okay, I need facts. I need to know who at the Idaho State called. I mean, these are the who, what, when, wheres, which those are facts. The times, like when did you send it? How did you send it? You know, these are things that should not be left out of a probable cause warrant, of a probable cause affidavit, because the judge has to know that you did the procedure. You went through it, like you're not lying because you have the facts, you know what I mean? Like it's there. But, in the rush, they just put this together and it was just a mess. And there was also that video of a suspect video. Remember that, CJ?
Yeah.
There was a video of a suspect a video of a suspect video. Video of a suspect video.
It's not happening.
We're trying now to get into the head of Brett Payne, and good luck to anyone who tries to do that. I mean, that probable cause, all due respect to him, I don't know how he signs a warrant for the arrest of Brian Koberger based on that document. Like Diane says, could you put on the spell check, man? I mean, this is just the guy, the man's life is on, that's all that this is for. And you have 4 students you're not going to show a little bit more respect in your work. Again, this is my opinion that I'm giving here, but I agree with you, Oli. I don't know how that Judge Marshall didn't tear it up and say, come back.
Well, that's why they wanted the photo of the car.
The grand jury.
Yeah, that's why they went. Listen, I'm sure Bill Thompson put on a spectacular speech, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, come on, if you're looking at all that, you got the DNA. You got to go to trial for that. You can't figure that shit out in a grand jury. You just have to trust the investigators. The cell phone pings. Again, you got to trust the investigators. You got to go to a trial for that. The footage, okay, that's a lot. We got 5 terabytes. Okay, that's going to be a lot of video. We don't have time to go through it. I'm sure they expected a little 30-second clip or something. But what would be easy to produce is a picture of the car. Look, can we just see the picture of the car real quick? You should already have it. You shouldn't have to come back. It should already be in your file. Can we just see a picture of the car off of the footage? All of this footage that you're claiming to have. That right there. But they say it's a ham sandwich. So they didn't really need it, did they, I guess?
Well, what were the 3 things that got him arrested? He's the driver of suspect vehicle 1. The sheath, and the pings. What else do they have? I think in my opinion, I think what happened is they thought that once they arrested him, they were going to come up with this treasure trove.
Yeah, that's what they were waiting on.
Right?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were waiting. So when they got the tip, this is why I always say that they just got the tip and ran with it. The Oregon car ended up being a bust. because remember, they were all excited. They were like, oh, yeah, we're getting a team together. We're going to drive out there. We're going to, it's a great promising lead. Then they drive out there. They're all pumped up. They're thinking that this is the lead. They get out there and they're like, shucks. So they come back all depressed, defeated. Oh, President Green, come on, guys. We got to find somebody new. The new semester starting. Come on. Why can't you find anybody? All that pressure's on them. And then all of a sudden you got Mr. I live 1,200 feet from BK, but I live in Moscow, never lived in Washington State, so I don't know how I could be 1,200 feet away from him. But my wife works for Moscow Police Department, so let me just drive around and find 10 Elantras, and I happen to go to Pullman to find this Elantra, not in Moscow.
And then they have the pressure of why won't an alpha male step up at the MPD? I don't want to have to do that. I mean, they had pressure coming at them from all ways, but still, I mean, they pretty much, if he's not involved, I mean, they pretty much destroyed his life, his family's life. The victims, their family members, if they've got to start all over again, why? Because they wanted to rush and they hoped that they were going to find. Audrey, how hard is it to hide DNA? I mean, that's one. The car had no DNA in it, right? His DNA should have been all over that house. It wasn't. There's nothing in his apartment, in his office, or even at his family's home. You'd think that there'd be something. Is it easy? Like, people think that it's easy to clean up DNA.
No, it's definitely not easy. And that should have been an indicator to the police that this person should be ruled out. Transfer DNA works just like, I don't know, like germs. You would use those hand sanitizers. And even if you use those hand sanitizers, there's always still a little bit left. So just think about all these hands touching everything. Sometimes it doesn't really come out when you're even doing laundry. So there would have been something. And this is why, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not a DNA expert, but I agree that, that there has to be something. And I was listening to another DNA expert talking about why they focused on the button is because that's where it's touched to take the knife out and touch to put the knife back in or take it out. But still, it doesn't make sense. They had a search warrant for his apartment, his office. Shouldn't there skin cells be there? I mean, couldn't they get like on the phone in his office, where the speaker is, or
yeah.
I mean, something. I mean, did he leave a brush at the house or the remote control? I mean, did he sanitize everything? I mean, the remote control, that's something you touch a lot. I mean, I would think that they would want to get DNA from that, or I don't know. Or
he had to have gone to a gas like how they got Long Island SK, Richard Ehrman. You're gonna tell me the dude never wiped his hands off on a towel and threw it away when he was getting gas, or threw a coffee cup in a garbage can, or the only garbage he would put out is garbage in his neighbor's can, and that's it. If you were really tailing him and following him, I mean, it just, the whole thing with what do you think about the failure to read the Miranda rights?
It's big.
I mean, just what they want to throw out that he asked if somebody else was arrested. If
allegedly, yeah, that's the statement.
What's so bad about that? That shows more of I didn't do it, right?
Well,
or there was someone else.
It can be interpreted a lot of ways. I mean, it can be interpreted as his co-partner in crime. Like, did my co-partner in crime get arrested? Or it could be interpreted, did anybody in my family get arrested? Because he's wherever they found him, in the basement or the kitchen, I don't remember where, and his family's somewhere else. Okay, so they apparently had them, hog-tied or tied up.
Good point. Good point.
So,
Never thought of that.
he may have said, has anybody else been arrested? Because he's thinking about his family. So it can be interpreted in a lot of ways, or it just could have been a statement like who else is involved in this that I don't know about?
I mean, that's what I would be saying if it was.
It could mean a lot of things, but because they're saying that Idaho law applies, they're saying he wasn't read his Miranda rights. I don't know what Pennsylvania law says about that. I have an understanding, but I know that Jay Logston is saying there's a conflict of laws, and he wants the judge to decide that there is a conflict of law and apply Idaho law. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's crazy to me. I don't see what else would get thrown out with. I mean, if you're not read your Miranda rights, that messes up a whole bunch of.
Well, it doesn't mess up the search warrants that they did
Until you get to Idaho and you're read your Miranda rights there.
I don't think he made any statements other than that one, right? The only thing we've ever heard, and then he very wisely, zipped it. The rumor was, and I think it came from News Nation, that he early on in the case, that he asked, "Is anyone else supposedly has anyone else been arrested?" And I had never thought, Yoli, that could possibly be, my parent. Of course, he's going to want to know if anyone else in his family got arrested, but where people are thinking it could hurt him is to suggest that there's a co-conspirator. Did my co-conspirator get arrested?
Well, yeah, you could take it that way too.
Well, you know what? They'll turn you saying the word "the" against you. That's why they say just keep your mouth shut.
And he has, for the most part. For the most part, he hasn't said anything. Now, if you look at the QueenRd case, she was giving interviews before and everything, and now they're trying to use that against her. Brian Koberger hasn't said anything. The only time I've ever seen him talk is when a police officer is pulling him over, or he's talking to the court and saying, yes, I agree, whatever. I've never seen him talk anywhere else unless he's under pressure or talking to the court.
He stood silent, when they asked after the indictment, when he didn't say a word. She stood up. Ann Taylor said, "My client's standing silent. He's not entering any type of plea," because then that would assert that the indictment he was accepting the indictment. They knew they were going to fight it.
Yeah, and from what I understand, that's not a big deal. They do that all the time. I've learned in here the defendant's silent and the judge enters the plea because the defendant's silent.
Yeah,
this is on property crimes.
And when it comes to the DNA, I've said the sheath could have been Maddie's or Kaylee's from the crime when it took place. I made a video a long time ago about it when it comes to that DNA, because we, if you guys remember the Presumption podcast with CC Moore, it was like a year and a half ago. We checked it out year ago somewhere, maybe a year and a half ago. She's the leader of it all, and she was telling you, look, it's not called a science, it's called an art, because what we're doing is we're manipulating things to come up with something. Where it's like when I tell people you're taking a tire that has a bunch of chunks missing out of it and you're recreating the filling in part to come out with the tire. So you're adding stuff to it just to get a result. And when it comes to contamination, I showed you guys in the very beginning when it comes to who contaminated what, not only outside the crime scene, but inside the crime scene as well. There's contamination all over the place. So to go off of just that, and the person that is being charged, where is the DNA that ties him to the victims outside? I'm sorry, you can't just take a DNA bath as soon as you jump out of the property.
Right.
Like it just don't happen. So I always thought the DNA was going to be the weakest part because it'll be able to be easily argued in court. Anytime you saw these DNA experts coming up in these other court hearings and testifying, I mean, they were why would Bill Thompson send the FBI to go talk to Vargas after she testified in
Yeah.
that court hearing? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of it's the DNA. I don't see how they can even the DNA. I think the strongest thing is going to be them trying to argue the cell phone.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the sheath might even get thrown out. I mean, wouldn't that be the subject of a motion to suppress? Because Audrey, it's touch DNA, right? It's not like his blood. It's not like his fingerprint. It's not,
skin cells. It's 21 skin cells.
Skin cells. So
right, and it's on a movable object.
Yeah. That's why I said, like, I always felt that the K-bar and the sheath was Maddie's. Somebody gave it to her. They probably bought it at a pawn shop. That's where you get transfer DNA on the inside. That small amount. Look, if he just committed the crime, there'd be a lot more than 21 skin cells, okay? Let's be real.
that type of a crime,
right?
Especially. I mean, this was up close and personal. Multiple, I mean, just basically grabbing and multiple times back and forth. You're telling me he didn't drop any tears. He didn't drop any sweat, and he didn't cut himself. You would expect to see his DNA all over that house because this was not a shooting. This wasn't a man. It was a man. And going back to your point, CJ, another content creator did a really, I think, a good, can't remember his name right now, but he just said, look, a person that goes in with a firearm to commit a crime, you don't go in with your holster, have it on your hip, pull it out. What sense does it make that he would go, whoever did this, would take the K-bar, have it in the sheath, have it around his hip, and you go in holding it and ready to go when you see your victim. He felt that it was more, like you say, better scenario that it came from in the house. It was already there. It belonged to one of the people in the house. That's why the sheath was left there.
Yeah, I mean, you have to see that. Yeah, because look at where the sheath was at. It was on the left side of Kaylee, in between Kaylee and Maddie. Okay, right. This is like ever since, I don't know, a year and 3/4 ago. I've been when you look at what's there. Okay, you look at what's there, and you look at when I got there, the person jumped up on the 3rd floor deck from the back right of the house. The elevation slides down from the road. It either cinder blocks laying there. They didn't even clean those up. Somebody could have stacked them up, jumped up there, got on the 3rd floor deck. People accidentally leave the 3rd floor deck door unlocked all the time because you don't think people's going to go through there because there's no stairs down there. And I feel like the person came in there. They had to play with the puppy in that room in order to go to Kaylee and Maddie. Kaylee heard something. She leaned over, grabbed the knife, took it out, holding the sheath in the left hand, the knife in the right hand. Didn't know if she was going to need to put it back in the sheath or not because she didn't know if it was somebody kidding around. Somebody that came through the door wasn't kidding around, and she got scared, and they ended up doing what they were doing. And I feel like the person that really did commit the crime still has that knife, still takes it out in the middle of Walmart, looking at it, reliving the crime, because ain't nobody going to notice that was the knife that somebody was trying to defend themselves. That because when you're going in there to commit a crime with a knife, okay, you need that other hand for your defense.
Right.
You don't need it full of something else, so then all you can do is use your fist. You need that hand for a defense. And if you have a suit that makes you not even have DNA on you or leave DNA, well, then you don't have a belt around that suit. If you had a belt around that suit, then I know some of your DNA would have been dropped because your DNA would be on that belt already. So there's a lot of things, especially with that sheath. And then pain had to be shown because there was other people that didn't even notice it. How are you going to notice? How are you going to notice a knife sheath on the left side of Kaylee when she's on top of Maddie and it's in between her and Maddie? How is somebody from the doorway going to see a sheath laying in between two people while one of them's on top of the other? It doesn't.
He did say that, didn't he? He said it was visible from the door. But what I don't understand, CJ, is he stated in the PCA that he knew the dog was there because he looked at Officer Nunez's body cam. He is being led through the house by one of the other first responders, Corbin Smith. Corbin Smith didn't say, "Hey, Sarge or detective, you're not going to believe it. We have four victims who've been on, and there's the sheath right there." Or he's not going to, I don't understand how everybody missed that sheath. And it took ISP to find it later. How is that possible?
Well, my argument would be that the sheath could not and is not the murder weapon.
No.
So you all are hyping it up. The media's hyping it up. Oh my God, they found DNA on a sheath. Okay, but where's the murder weapon? Let's find the murder weapon or weapons, and let's find DNA on those weapons.
Yeah.
Because that sheath has nothing in it. That sheath is not going to kill anybody.
Right.
So,
and there's two types of. The coroner told you there was two different types of injuries too: sharp and blunt force.
And then we have CJ. We have from the affidavit of probable cause that Payne tells you Maddie perished from this, Kaylee perished from this, Xana perished from this. They had to go to the medical examiner's report to find out what Ethan perished from. So was there another? And then there's some talk maybe there was something else. Maybe he was, I didn't want to think about it, but there was golf clubs in the house and people are thinking maybe that was used on him. So it's like it just seems to think that there's two different people here at least, that one person didn't do this. And I fail to understand how a criminal mastermind like this knows how not to take DNA with him, knows how to not drop a ton of his DNA, but drives his car to and from the scene of the crime where there's how many cameras, CJ? 100?
No.
All those cameras?
There's more than that.
Hundreds of cameras, right?
How many was it? What was it? Two? Just from the ones we counted, and it doesn't mean that there wasn't more, because I was being pretty generous. I think we came up with, 200 and something? Do you remember, Yoli?
Something like that. It was in the 200s, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
How does he not think, all right, he's supposed to be this brilliant criminal mastermind, right? Who knows how not to drop and take DNA in this type of a crime. How does he not see, okay, maybe you miss a couple, you missed 200 cameras coming or going. Don't you realize that you're going to be caught on video every step of the way? That makes no sense to me.
No, because the route that he took, when I went out there, if you go down Airport Road, there's literally just a couple cameras. There's a store that you might get caught on surveillance, a little corner store. And then the airport that might have a couple cameras, but them cameras are way far away from when it comes to the road. So if it did pick up anything, you're talking like minute, and you can't get nothing from that. And so if he really was like scoping it out, he would have scoped out the surveillance, and he would have took Airport Road, because as soon as Airport Road comes up to Floyd's, and then you turn left, and literally less than a minute, you're crossing into Idaho. Instead of going down through Pullman, down around the highway and then coming up and around where you're getting caught on all that surveillance, that doesn't make sense to me because, yeah, you're not going to go that route. And then from that point, when you cross Idaho, why are you going downtown? Why are you going downtown when you could have literally, as soon as you pulled into to Idaho, you see the Walmart on your left, you hook a right, and you're going by the Kibbe Dome, and you hit the house. Both parts of the Washington side and the Idaho side both don't make sense because there's different ways you would have went if you really were scoping it out.
Here's another thing JP is saying here. What they suggest in the PCA is that BK is dumb and smart at the same time. They suggest he tried to conceal his location with the phone off the network, but then he drove past the house several times. He drove past the house, like you said, CJ. He's making the 3-point turn. He's shining his lights into people's houses. He's going back. People are trying to sleep. I mean, what a way to say, hey, everybody, take notice of me in my car here with my Pennsylvania, my front license plate missing, white, so it's really standing out. It's not a dark car. It doesn't make sense. He's a brilliant mastermind, but he's the dumbest person in the world. On the other hand,
but the one thing that I want to say is that what is under seal? That's what I don't understand.
Everything.
Everything. What? I mean, we don't know what's under seal, so I'm afraid sometimes that I might be saying these things and just based on what I know, but then when we see what's under seal, we're going to be like, oh.
But you know what, Yoli, I'm one to I maybe because it's of my age or whatever, but walls talk, even with gag orders. Well, I think something would have gotten out, that they would have, smoking gun. Like we had Bill Thompson standing up and saying, there's no connection between Brian Kohberger and these victims. All the rumors that he was stalking, he went to the Mad Greek and he had his eye on Maddie or Zana, and no connection. So I think that if they would have found something, that it would have gotten out by now.
What's under seal? I don't understand what's under seal.
I think it's a lot of digital data. I don't know if the court knows how to handle that because we know there's 60-something terabytes now. And so instead of releasing all that information because of these privacy issues, I think the court is trying to be conservative.
Well, you bring up a good point there, Audrey, because we just had a document that was filed last week on the 19th where Alyssa Massoff went out of her way. It was the document that was opposing the state's motion to have, the extra attorney generals entertained without a hearing. And she says that she called them, sent an email, they didn't respond back, that it was very ambiguous. And then she drops in footnote, we call it the infamous footnote. I did a show on this a couple of days ago. Footnote 2, where she goes in there and says that there are something like 71 affidavits. They also have the help of the U.S. Attorney General's office, that there was a grand jury, but all they have is dates, and there's no specificity regarding content of these affidavits. So maybe, Oli, that's the answer that we've all been seeking, that there was a contemporaneous grand jury proceeding, because of course this is state, right? Typical unaliving like this, I could say typical, but that's a state matter. The feds don't get involved.
Right. And in this case, the feds were asked to be involved to assist, and the federal grand jury can help with investigating. But I mean, I'm not an expert in all that, but that's what the very basic that I know is that the federal grand jury could have been helping the FBI investigate, or they could have been investigating Brian Kohberger for a federal matter, and it didn't fly. In other words, the grand jury in the federal level didn't indict, but the state level did. So there's without knowing what the grand jury was trying to do, we don't know, and we won't know, unfortunately. But the federal grand jury can help the FBI investigate. They're also like, they can send out subpoenas, like federal grand jury subpoenas, to get information. And I know that's one of the things that the defense wanted was the federal grand jury subpoenas for information, because they got information, the prosecutors got information from the federal grand jury subpoena, and then they went ahead and did an affidavit to try to get the same information. So they were privy to some federal grand jury investigation that we are not. So
wouldn't there have been like some sort of a federal statute or a federal law that he had violated and they thought, and so
right,
convene this grand jury?
Federal stalking law. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's like three things. There's a federal stalking law. There's a federal domestic violence law where if you cross state lines to batter your spouse. And then I think there's even one if it involves drugs and you're being hired as some kind of hitman, or I don't know. But there's just only certain circumstances. But they could have also just been an investigatory tool to help. But when you have so many agencies involved, and like Audrey said, a lot of electronic data, that, I mean, it's just overwhelming. And all these federal agencies, it's almost like who's on first, because you get so many people involved. Whereas if it's just one agency, it's all contained. But here you got stuff all over the place.
Well, Miss Girl brings up a point about the phone pings, and I want to show everybody how you can utilize the tower at 1122, because the tower is right in this area. Okay. This is where you can be in Pullman and still connect to the same tower that 1122 uses.
Wow.
Bishop Boulevard. Okay. Now,
so he could have been at Bishop Boulevard and would be showing up using the same cell tower as 1122.
Yeah, because when I first went there, because was covering the Stephen Smith case in South Carolina before I went to Idaho. And when I was down there, it was the first time that I went to a location to do boots on the ground work, and I had no cell phone connection whatsoever, and I was in a very sketchy area, and people know that you're not from there, and so you can imagine the environment that I was in. And so knowing how it is in Idaho, I was like, I can't be out there exposed like this and not have adequate cell phone coverage. I need to make sure I'm safe. So when I went to Idaho, I stopped into the local my T-Mobile, and I was talking to them, and I was like, hey, this is the situation I was just in. I can't be in this situation out here in Idaho. I need to know where the tower's at. I need to know where I'm going to lose connection, because that way, if something happens, I know in the back of my head where I need to go to get back to cell phone coverage. And that's when I learned, because when we pulled up the map and he was showing me the towers, and I saw the tower and the circle was touching this part right here. The circle was touching this part of Pullman, and I was like, are you serious? I said, I can be right here. You're telling me I can be right here and I can connect to the same tower that's over here that connects to 1122? And he was like, yeah. Wow. And from that point on, now Bishop Boulevard, you've heard that street name before. So I wouldn't, if you're leaving and coming back, you might end up taking the same road, because maybe the traffic, I don't know. Maybe there's no lights through Bishop Boulevard. But that's how you can connect to it. And that's the only connection on that cell phone, because supposedly, remember he shut his phone off when he went to Nevada and Stadium? Then was caught on surveillance going around this corner right here.
That was Brett Payne, based on his 2 years of experience in law enforcement. that when criminals go to a scene, they intentionally shut off their phones. It's not that maybe he was in an area that lost service, because I know some of the people in the chat are saying like that park, why we're waiting,
No,
you don't have service.
I don't.
Right?
No. When I was there, I didn't lose service at all in Washington State. I didn't lose service going to Moscow. The only time that I lost service was when I was driving around on Taylor Avenue in Walenta. That's when I lost service. I dropped out. Caddy was on there with me because we just released that footage. That was some of the footage that I had never released before, and I put that out a week or two ago. If you guys want to go check that out, it's in different parts. But that was the first time that I showed up to 1122 King Road.
I was going to say, Taylor and Walenta is very close to 1122.
Right around. Yeah, right around. Yeah. Okay. And that's when Caddy, shout out Caddy. She was Caddy. We were having a Discord call going on while I was showing up to the house at the first time. And she was the one that was letting me know when it dropped out. Oh, we don't see it anymore. Literally, when I left 1122, one of them happened when I left 1122 and then turned left and went up the hill. Right there, it dropped out. Like that's the only time I dropped out. That's why I said when I came back from Idaho, I was like, whoever's telling you that there's cell phone drop issues in between Idaho and Washington and up and around Washington, get T-Mobile. I told them get T-Mobile because maybe it was Verizon. Can you hear me now? I don't know. But I have T-Mobile and I didn't have any issues until I was by 1122. And you're talking because at where 1122 is, there's a huge like mountain. So you got here's the house right here. This right here is like a huge mountain right here. And the tower's on the other side of the mountain. And so maybe that's where some of the connection issues come from, is because when you're coming in on 270, you can look over to the right on my footage. You see that huge mountain right before it starts coming back down over here, because this all right here, like coming down to the right and then behind the house, is a huge elevation drop. I mean, huge elevation drop.
Matt's asking, I think, what are the panel's thoughts on the Linda Lane footage? Is the car connected? Was it an Elantra?
I have no idea.
Who knows? I mean, it could be anything. You saw people putting up 20 different car models and saying that's it, and they all, and to be honest, I'm not making fun of anybody either. They all had valid, you could literally look at it and be like, well, yeah, but this is the thing that I learned before Linda Lane. I learned it during the grub truck, because when we deep dived the grub truck in December of 22, January 23 was the first one. That's when I started to even tell myself, dude, if I'm looking for something or if I'm trying to hear something, my ears are going to tell me that and my eyes are going to tell me that, and it might not be it. So any of them could be it. What it looks like to me is a frustrated DoorDash driver that's trying to find 1122 King Road, and he's on Queen Road, and he doesn't understand how to get to 1122 King Road because it's a cul-de-sac. It was a lost DoorDash driver. That's what I think. And it was somebody
exactly. That looks like someone who is not familiar with the neighborhood, who's trying to find a King Road address on Queen Road. Even the cops on they said they call. Oh, we're going on to Queen Road here. I mean, it is the most confusing address ever.
And Michi Girl is talking about the very first article was a 2019 to 2020 on Sentra. They were
Sentra. Yeah, a Sentra.
Michi Girl, I wouldn't even be surprised if what Payne was looking at was the MPD undercover car. That was a white car too. It was Who knows
This is
what
silver.
it is? You know,
This is
release a picture of the car. We've all
a
seen
license plate.
Koberger's car. We have never seen suspect. People think we've seen some people. The public has never seen one image of suspect vehicle 1 ever. And I cannot come up with a plausible reason, if they have all this video and all of these stills, why the public has never seen this car.
This right here. So whenever you used to look it up on how to get directions to 1122 King Road, the square is the house, and the yellow line is the directions that it told you to go. Now, when it was on Google, this is actually what it showed you. It showed you going here, and then it showed like little hop skippy thing to then go to the house. That's what it showed you in the past. Was it was going down and then a skip. So again, if you're looking for 1122 King Road, you're gonna be driving over here going, shoot, where'd it go? Because 1126 was right here. 1126. So 1118 to 1126, you're driving up and down. You're going, where in the? You're going this way. You're like, where's 1122? Okay, I don't know. Maybe here. Let me go up here.
Yeah, you did that video, CJ, where you're driving and you're acting like you're the driver.
Yeah,
and it's like it fits perfectly. It's like, okay, it's like perfectly like what a DoorDash driver would be thinking. And I know this because I used to go back in the day to depositions to hospitals, and it's like, where do I park? Okay, where is this? Okay, is this visitor park? Like, you're trying to find something and you're just backing up, and it totally matched what you were doing. So I kind of agree with you on that, although I really don't know what kind of car it was, because I really can't see, and I see whatever comes to mind, and that's not good.
I mean, and that's what person that's going to commit the crime, that's scoping it out, is going to do loop to loop, so everybody gets, who the hell keeps driving by at 3 a.m?
And they say, people say, oh, they were waiting. He was waiting so that they turned off all the lights. Okay, so when they turn off all the lights,
you could have easily pulled in the back lot and shut your lights off and waited.
Well,
I mean, come on now. You're not going to make a 3-point turn in an intersection where neighbors are really going, who the F is drunk right now driving out? Because somebody probably wasn't sleeping, and they're going to crack that little shade on their window, and who the hell? Because the headlights are going to be hitting the windows.
4 in the morning.
Yeah, because the road is elevated. It's going to shine in their windows. People they're going to be like, who the hell is... Oh, they must be drunk. Look at that. They're doing a 3-point turn in that intersection.
Babs 22 says it's like the DoorDash pulls in, GPS tells them you've arrived, and you're
right.
Like, what? This is not.
Yeah, that's why you go down King Road. You're like, okay, it's not here. You turn to the right so you can turn around to try and look more, and then that's where you get the 3-point turn, because then you're driving and you're like, okay, I don't see where this is at. When I'm on this road, I see 1126. When I'm driving by, I see 1126 right out in front, but this is Queen Road. That's where you get the 3-point turn, because they got the King Road, and they're like, wait a minute. And that's where I think the Queen came from Xana, was because Queen Road, not King Road. I can't find your address. Queen, not King.
That's insane.
Right. I mean, even the cops were calling it Queen Road when what's his face? The one who was on Banfield running the 5-yard dash, who didn't hear anything, but yet he's all the way around the corner at the frat boy's house, and he sees a boom box at 1122 and walks around. They said, they radioed back to headquarters and said, we're on Queen Road. It's very confusing address. Yeah, that seems like a person making a delivery or attempting to at 4 a.m. when it is dark and you can't pull down your window and say, hey, sir, where's King Road? You know, I mean, just going up and back, doing the 3-point turn, attempting to park, turning around, going down to the apartments, turning around again. That sounds like a DoorDash. And, you know, another thing that just confuses me is why all of this ambiguity in the PCA about the DoorDash driver. We don't know if male or female. We don't know where this food delivery originated from. The only person whose name is not published Payne published, Jack the Core threw him right on he published his name twice in that. The private driver, his name's there redacted, but we know who it is from the Pennsylvania documents. Same with the medical examiner. DoorDash driver, there's something about that DoorDash driver. And then the other thing is that the warrants weren't issued until December, 6th? That's the last person known to be at the house before the crimes. You know, and you're saying that they came forward, but you don't issue a warrant for DoorDash information until December 6th. That's like, what, 3 weeks later? Something's up with that, with the DoorDash driver.
Yeah, they were the last one to be there.
I don't know. It's all weird. Everything is weird, and everything is just kind of, I don't know how to say it, but it doesn't make sense, and that's why everybody's questioning it. And a big part of it is because it's sealed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I don't know what is sealed. What could be sealed other than nefarious things of people,
right?
which probably would cause reasonable doubt. I don't know. I have no idea.
And then let's throw on how quickly MPD cleared so many of the quote-unquote
crime
usual
scene.
suspects.
Let's zoom.
Right? I mean, you had them saying this person's cleared. What type of investigating could you have been doing in those couple of days right after these crimes when all heck is breaking loose? Now we're going to be able to clear 20 people or 30 people that they were with last, whether, you know, it's the ex-boyfriends, this one, that one. That usually takes months of investigating. I mean, they just cleared a lot of people real fast, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, they did. They sent all the students home right away.
Yeah.
They did. When you send them home right away, I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah, I mean, the competent thing would have been to say, students, you know, understand that you may be frightened, whatever, we're going to do this now. Stick around. You may have some information that could be useful to the Moscow Police Department who's investigating this. No, go home.
Yeah, the house was demolished a long time ago. Almost a year ago. Almost a year ago it was demolished.
It was still standing though when you were there, right, CJ?
Yeah, that's why I went, because I was planning on going, but I was going to wait until the spring because I didn't want to. I'm already afraid to fly.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I wanted to do was take a plane above a whole bunch of mountains when it was getting cold, you know? So I'm like, I'll just plan it for, you know, March or April or something. And when the FBI came on October 31st of 2023, and that's when I was like, son of a bee, they're going to tear this thing down before the new semester. And that's why from Halloween, and I literally landed in Idaho on the 8th of November. So I literally, like, that's when I seen the FBI, I'm like, yeah.
It's now or never, right?
I already knew, like, it was already going to get, I get that hunch. Why is there no speaker? That's weird. I get that hunch, and that's when I was like, I gotta go. It was an expensive trip because of how last minute it was and for how long I was going to be there. I was there for a week. I was there from 11/8 to 11/15, 2023.
Wow.
And yeah, it was one of those things. It's like, I gotta go. I have to have footage of this so that way people can really see the damn truth before it gets torn down, because it's hard to, you know. And plus I wanted to be there to that's where I that's where when I pulled up and I was sitting there, and I was like, wow, this is so close. How everything is. And then when I came back at night, that's when I was like, oh, somebody from QueenRd Apartments did this shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was somebody from. That's just me, but that's when the whole QueenRd Incel thing came to my mind, was when I sat back there at nighttime and I was like, this is just too perfect. It's
Yeah.
just too perfect.
My theory is, I don't see them driving there. I just, and I say them, I think this was Perpetrator. I think there was more than one, two, at least, maybe even three. And they didn't drive. I think that they walked. There was plenty of cover there, right, CJ, where you could go
Yeah,
in.
this is what I'm saying. Like, you live up in one of these apartments that's literally like right on the edge of the building. It's like this. You know how many times that they got called for music. You know how
Mm-hmm.
many times they got called for partying, people showing up all the time. Hey, like all the times that law enforcement was showing up there, and they didn't even, the roommates weren't even there. They had to call roommates to then talk, hey, you might want to get back here, whatever, right? It was a party house. And that's why I feel like it was an incel that lived at QueenRd, because when all they're expecting to do is go to school, they're magnificent, so they should be loved. You got beautiful, popular people living right there. It's the party house of the block, of the area. And they probably went and showed up at one of the parties that's open, because you saw how many people go to these things, and they probably weren't recepted very well because they were socially awkward, and so they got kind of shunned or outcasted, and they live right there. And so it was probably like one of these things where they were like, oh, I'm so magnificent. They go to show up to this party expecting one of these females to be like, ooh, goo goo gaga. And he was basically probably standing in a corner by himself, not talking to anybody because he was socially awkward. He goes back frustrated, mad at the world because girls are supposed to love him and they like these jocks and all this other shit. And after that, he continues to have to park back there. And this is why I say it was somebody that lives on that certain part of QueenRd, because only that certain part of QueenRd people park behind 1122. The other half of that front building park at the parking lot that's at the top of the hill. And so somebody that not only has to park back there, but has an apartment that's right there, has to hear all the partying, the fun, the girls screaming, the sounds of college and just crazy parties. And they have to sit there and do their homework, or try and like not think about how they're nobody loves them and stuff like this, and they just sit there and brew and brew and brew. And that's why I feel like the person that they were probably after Kaylee, and Kaylee ended up moving away, and then once she came back, I feel like that person had a go bag in their closet ready to go, and literally they just walk out of that. Oh gosh, he's back in town. Ooh, I can finally do it. I can finally do it. And then all they have to do is go down the stairs. They don't look suspicious because they live there. If I'm there for a week doing my work on my computer late at night, and I'm a strange vehicle and I'm a strange person that has never been there before, and nobody even thinks I'm weird, that's pretty good cover. And so all that person would have to do is literally walk out of their apartment that's on the very edge of the building, walk down just right across that little teeny street, the back right corner of that house. That street is up higher. The street is on the same level as the third floor deck, so it drops down real quick. Literally, the person just hops, skips, takes 2 or 3 steps over the road, is already going down into the brush and trees, stack a brick, get up to the third floor deck, they commit the crime. All they have to do is hop down, take a few steps, and they're back in their apartment. Nobody sees nothing. And nobody has any kind of, because we don't know where he went. Well, that's probably because he left, how he came in, and basically jumped on a bunch of leaves and dirt.
Well, the incel theory, incel theory would definitely explain the rage more than this is a grad student who wanted to see if he could get away with the perfect crime. I mean, these crimes, they just scream emotion, rage. It's money, or it's
well, especially with Kaylee's injuries, from what's been reported, with they couldn't even recognize her face. You know what I mean? Like, that right there is a specific. I mean, that's why Steve G was saying all that time. Yeah. That's why he was being so aggressive. But that's why he said, him and Christy both said that her injuries were like out of a horror movie when they read the autopsy results.
Yeah.
So it didn't match. The injuries didn't match.
They were beyond what everybody else had, and they said that it was like a horror movie.
Yeah.
When they were reading it, and so when somebody, this is why I feel like they were on the third floor first. They went down to the second floor, and I feel like they came back up to the third floor, because I think what took place is they went in, they already heard somebody possibly playing with the puppy, roommate playing with the puppy. You're not going to think it's somebody that broke into your house. You're going to think it's a roommate. Then all of a sudden, oh gosh, I think somebody's here. And then a bunch of, ruffling around. You're going, whoa, what the hell is that, right? Then all of a sudden, Ethan and Xana wake up. Oh, who the heck is that? Okay, I hear some noise going on downstairs. He already did most of what he needed to do upstairs already, because it was real quick. Okay, they weren't gonna move, so he could come downstairs, take care of the threats that were downstairs, because he heard the threats that were going to be possible, took care of those threats. The reason that you don't hear a statement from Dylan saying he walked out the door, she says he walked towards the door. Right. So if he's walking by, then I feel like he walked back upstairs, and that's where he did what he did to Kaylee when it comes to what Steve and Christy were talking about, because I don't see how somebody could commit both of those stabbings and then do what they did to Kaylee and then go back. Like, you would almost be afraid somebody's going to be coming up behind you if you're going to do that to somebody after you already took them out.
No, so CJ, if I could just add something, because you have a couple people that helped me with the podcast, and we had like a little powwow, sat down and said, okay, it's been 2 years. What do you think happened? Because most of my pot is really just reading the documents, explaining what's going on, the objections, whatever it is. But we finally sat down, and I did it about a week and a half ago, what a possible theory was. And I really, we agreed that it was possibly an incel theory where he had eyes on Maddie or Kaylee. But if the incels, though, they have something called you heard Chad and Stacy or whatever it's called. These are people that they are very angry with because they get girls, right? It's the athletic guy. It's the really pretty girl. What's his face? The king of the incels. I forget his name.
Elliot Rogers.
Elliot Roger. Yes, he
Yeah.
has a name for them. So it could have been that he wanted to also get Xana and Ethan because he was the representative of the Chad and the Stacy. She was the girl that he wanted, could never have. he was the guy. Like, they make fun of them, but they're jealous of them. You know, he
Well,
was
why
the
wouldn't he take out? Why wouldn't he take out Dylan and Bethany then? Because if he knows a lot about Ethan and Xana, well, then he would know about Bethany and Dylan
Yeah, but
as
they're not a
well.
couple. They're not like a couple. It's a theory where it really fits that incel whole philosophy. You know, you go after the one that rejected you in your mind. You know, it's not that your personality stinks, and maybe if you
Yeah, but
weren't yourself, you go after
wouldn't
someone. So maybe
wouldn't
his thought
Xana
is,
have injuries that match Kaylee then?
well, she's just there. You know, she's the two in the upstairs bedroom. Let's just say one is the target, whether it's Kaylee, whether it's Maddie. They're together, so he can't leave. He can't leave an eyewitness, and maybe he's upset with her too because she rejected him. Then you go down to get the couple because you've seen this couple at that house all the time. You know, I don't think Ethan was pretty much. They were saying that he was almost living there. You know, so just a theory that
Yeah, but I would
too targeted.
But if there's more than, I would feel that they would have the same type of injuries as Kaylee if they were, even if, or something is just as horrific. Because if you're going to have that amount of anger and aggression, right. I don't want to be too graphic, but beyond recognition, you know what I'm saying? Beyond recognition. And that was the only victim out of any of them that it was like that. And so that's, I mean, yeah, they could have been jealous, but I would have seen them, at least Xana, having the same as Kaylee. Because if you're going to be that angry about somebody being in a relationship, then you should be just as angry as when you were angry at Kaylee for whatever, you know, took place there. When it comes to Ethan, I feel like the frat fight, that when it comes to that individual, I've always been suspicious of that guy.
Well, and that kind of goes back to our quiz that we did on my channel in terms of where were half of the victims and half of the surviving roommate. There it is, right? Okay, according to, don't you look at where they just were? You know, cops always want to know. Who was the last person they were with? What happened? And it's like they just discounted. But anyway, okay, so here's our quiz. According to, this is the affidavit of probable cause. The affidavit of probable cause in Idaho versus Koberger, 50%, half of the victims and surviving roommates were at this same location before directly returning home to 1122 King Road the early morning hours of November 13th. And I was pretty surprised that not more people got this one because it's right there, page 3. It is, at a bar on Main Street. We're obviously talking about the Corner Club here, and that would be Maddie and Kaylee. And we're just going from what the affidavit of probable cause says, so that's incorrect. At a food truck on Main Street in Moscow, that's also Maddie and Kaylee. It's not somewhere else. It's answer 2. 3 of them were at the fraternity house. They were at the Sigma Chi. Bethany, Ethan, and Xana, right? That's what the affidavit of probable cause tells us. They were there from 9 o'clock supposedly until 1:30 when one went back, and then 1:45 when the other two. Why wasn't that location picked over with a fine-tooth comb? You know, I mean, there could have been they could have had a fight. You know, somebody could have, jealous boyfriend or ex could have wandered in. And it was like they were discounted so quickly. All of the people that were seen last with these victims.
Yeah, they were told to go home.
They were told to go home.
Just a couple days later, go home. And I put a bar on Main Street because I still feel like they were all at Corner Club, and a call came in for the Moscow Lodge, Moose Lodge, when it wasn't even open. But
That's
there's a reason why you call the Moose Lodge, because you don't want to call it to the corner club so you get in trouble and can't drink there anymore. So you call it into the business next door. You
You
know?
talked about that a long, long
Yeah.
time ago, and that people haven't spoken about that in a while. But you're right. Yeah, there was, and it was Rosendahl. He was the cop that went and responded to that, and it's absolutely true. I mean, we don't know where Dylan was. She is the only one of the six that the affidavit of probable cause does not tell us where she was before she returned to 1122. They could have all been there. But yeah, it's just this page 3 of the affidavit is where he talks about the three of them were at the Sigma Chi, and I don't understand how so many people who were last with them, who had relationships with them, who had access to them, were cleared as quickly. We're not throwing shade at anybody, we're not accusing anybody, but it is a fact that as law enforcement 101, you look at those people and you clear them. You don't clear them. Oh, well, where were you? Oh, yeah, well, I was playing video games. Oh, okay, and I was asleep. Oh, okay, so you're each other's cover. Okay, you're free to go. I mean, it seems to suggest that many quick clearings means that there wasn't a heck of a lot of investigating that went into it.
No. There's a lot of other investigating going on, and they were just kind of there to, be local.
I wonder, CJ, we've been looking at the early. A lot of times the first thing that comes out of someone's mouth, whatever it is, whether it's a child that you're questioning or whatever, an employee, what someone says first usually rings true. And what did they tell us at first? There's no threat to the community, and the place was targeted. So do you think maybe they had a clue early on of what this was?
They didn't even know where he left.
Mm-hmm.
No, they just didn't want people to freak out.
Right.
We got it under control. We don't know who or where or how or what, but it's under control. That's why the people in the first couple press conferences were asking the question, like, how can you tell the community that there's no, the first 3 press conferences, how can you tell the community there's nothing to worry about when we don't know the weapon, we don't know the vehicle, we don't know the profile, we don't know where he went, how can you tell the community that they're safe?
When I had heard that early on, I thought, well, maybe, sometimes they will leave a sign, write something on the wall or something like that will give law enforcement a clue as to what possibly this is. But yeah, you're right. It was a lot of, the house was targeted. No, it was a person who was targeted. No, it was nothing was targeted. We don't know who it is. There's no threat to the community, but we don't know who it is. It was just a lot of conflicting stuff early on.
If the house is a target, then that means that there was some scandalous stuff going on in there that people, like, something happened, but there wasn't.
All right. Here's Matt. Matt's throwing in, I think this is a good topic, the multiple bank accounts and the forensics accounting that happened. That we've learned that, or we heard that one of them had like 21 different bank accounts. What is that? Could this have been something about money laundering or narcotics involved? You got to leave that possibility open, I think, especially when you're dealing with a federal grand jury, and that there was a large bust in Idaho shortly after 11/22. I think it was like in February or March the following year. So that tells you the feds were working in that area for a very long time. Maybe there's some connection here, maybe not.
There is, because why does the no camera keep popping up? Hold on, sorry, Yoli. Was.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go. It keeps popping up over you. I don't know why. Because how do I put this? Not that there's anything sexual going on, but I'll just put it like this. That's why Daddy Green is so, hanging out with the college ladies and dudes and they all rank up and bank up together and keep the bad shit down. And a lot of his buddies make a lot of money. They have a lot of power in the area, and they enjoy beautiful young women. Why, the yachts and the swimsuits, and hey, we don't want nothing sexual, honey. We just want the eye candy. We're gonna, it's like appearance fees. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah.
And I think, and you look at what Kaylee was, she was a sleuther too, and she probably, listen, there's probably so many other girls before that just, took the money, or just looked the other way about a lot of stuff because of the money of what they were getting. And she was probably like, look, yeah, I'm getting money for just showing up, you know, uh, serving drinks or some shit on a yacht in a swimsuit, right? But man, I don't like how this stuff's going on. And so I could see her finding out, oh my gosh, this is what they're doing, and this is how deep it goes, and all this other stuff. And that's why I think there was a bunch of bank accounts, because there was a bunch of bank accounts. Well, I'm getting for this account, I'm getting paid from this, and this account, and this. That way, when you're giving these people your account numbers, you're not giving them an account number that has total access to your bank account. You're only giving them an account number that they would have access to, so it doesn't affect all your other financials with with what other big wig or whatever. You don't want big wig number 2 to fuck with your bank account, so then it ruins big wig number 1's money that you got. It's diversifying, your portfolio, right? You gotta separate all your eggs so the one basket doesn't all of a sudden disappear because of one bad piece of fruit or whatever.
I've known a lot of people in my life. Maybe I've had 2 or 3. I've never known anyone of any age who has more than 20 bank accounts. It's very.
Listen, I'm trying to get a Hyundai, and she got a Range Rover. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a camper van, and I can't even find a 1987 or something. You know what I mean? Like, come on. It's who would have 20 bank accounts unless you're dealing with people. Like, come on. Why do people get the what's that card you get at Walgreens? The Global Cash Card or whatever. You pay $5 and you upload money on it. You get a different account number so it doesn't affect your bank. It's the same kind of thing.
This investigation went all over the place. I mean, they're getting bank account information. They're getting all this electronic data, and I think Audrey might be right about the whole electronic data and how it's overwhelming. Yeah. And what does it mean? And so they seal it, and so people aren't speculating about what could be going on. But at the same time, people are gonna speculate, and it's all over the place. I mean, I don't even know.
What we do know. We know that no victim's DNA was found anywhere outside that house, and they've searched everywhere for BK. So we know the victim's DNA is not in the car, it's not in the house, it's not on his shoe, it's not anywhere.
And Ann Taylor said there was a total lack of DNA. There are some people who are saying, oh, lack of DNA doesn't mean no DNA. And why would they want to suppress the contents of the car if there was nothing there? Well, I don't know that, because I don't know what is sealed. But if anything was obtained from the car that was done unconstitutionally, well then, yeah, I mean, you'd want to exclude it, but I don't know what that is, because it's sealed. I don't know what else.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's sealed, because what we do know is that there's no victim's DNA anywhere outside that house, and there will be.
So what else? Yeah.
Like whatever. And think about it. What's a bullshitter gonna do to a sleuther? They're gonna give you so much They're going to talk your head off. They're going to give you so much information that you ain't even going to be able to think straight. It's going to take you forever to go through it.
Oh
That's
my
what they're
God.
doing.
That's like what they tried to do
whole.
to Hitler. They gave him 2,200 pages, and they like, oh, no, I ain't doing that. You
It's
know,
too much. It's
I'm not.
overwhelming.
You figure it out and do it by Tuesday. He gave him 3 days to do it. This makes no sense whatsoever. These crimes is horrific, and they're hand on hand. It's not a mass, as we said, with a firearm. It was done with a sharp weapon. He should have had a ton of DNA. And if he cleaned it up, there would have been residue. There would have been cleaning residue all over that car. There would have been cleaning residue in that apartment. There would have been, there would have been either the DNA or evidence that he cleaned it with some type of high volume chemicals, and not what he purchased, Audrey, at the Albertsons, right when he went and got his lunch that day, and they made it
his vegetables.
Yeah, Brett, we laugh a lot because BP makes it sound so sus that at lunchtime he would have gone there, and he knows exactly what he purchased. He knows what to say, right? So Audrey and I say, yeah, he's in there. He's getting his what? He's getting his lunch, and
well, the shopping is better because you get bags at the store in Idaho. You don't in Washington State. I learned that after a couple days. I had a lot of dough moments because I'd go to Walmart in Washington. For real, I go to the first couple days, because I'd go to Walmart, get snacks, get different things.
Like
after I got there, huh?
You'd be like holding everything in
Yeah,
here.
that's what I had to do the first couple nights, because the first night I went and then I got me some snacks and a couple things real quick, and I was going to finish up some Walmart shopping the next day. And so I carried it in. It was just a few items, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. They didn't have any bags at the checkout. That's weird, right? Like, what do I got to bring in? Like Aldi's, you got to bring a quarter and bring your own bags, And when I went back the next night, I went and got a whole bunch of stuff, not even thinking. I got a cart full of stuff, and then I got to the checkout, and I was like, oh, shit. Like, I don't have any bags. I'm like, all right, I don't know what I'm going to do. So then I went to the vehicle and I put it all in the trunk. And then when I got to the hotel, I was like, I took a couple things up and I'm like, man, 3rd floor, elevator, all this stuff. I'm like, all right, I took a trip and I'm like, I'm just going to take one more. And I literally threw all the stuff in my hoodie and my coat, and I was carrying it up like a kangaroo. And after that, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go. It's only a few minutes to Moscow. It's like 9 to 10 minutes to go to the Moscow Walmart. I'll just go to Moscow, and then I can actually get bags for my stuff. Anybody in that area is going to go into Idaho to shop, unless they don't, unless they do bring their own bags or whatever.
That's crazy. Hey, CJ, I see that you have the affidavit of probable cause up. Could you possibly just go down a little bit? Yeah, this is where it tells us, this paragraph, that Ethan and Xana and Bethany were all together at the Sigma Chi. So that's 50%, half of the victims.
The whole time.
The whole time. Right? But if you go down, there's a very, very sus statement I think that he makes here, if I'm not mistaken, regarding the events at the Corner Club. Okay, so Gongalves and Mogan were at a local bar. Right here. Okay. Yeah. We're at the Corner Club at 202 Main Street in Moscow. Gongalves and Mogan can be seen on video at the Corner Club. Look at this next statement. Look at this. Provided by the Corner Club between 10 on November 12th and 1:30 a.m. Okay, so they're at the Corner Club at 1:30 a.m. How possibly are they also at the grub truck at 1:30 a.m.? Read this line. They're at the Corner Club between 10 p.m. on November 12th and 1:30 a.m. on November 13th. At approximately 1:30, they could be seen on video at a local food vendor called the Grub Truck. Now, we've seen that. First off, you can't possibly be at the Corner Club and the Grub Truck at 1:30 a.m. simultaneously. We've seen that they had to walk a little bit. It's further down. It's maybe, a 3-4 minute walk at least. But these are the types of things in the PCA, going back to what Yoli had said. How does the judge not take this, rip it up in 1,000 pieces and say, you're going to have to clean this up?
Yeah,
These two
because
girls can't
it's
be at two
full of
places at one time.
assumptions. It's
Well,
full of
because
assumptions.
yeah,
That's what
and if there's video,
approximately and
there's timestamps, and if there's
yeah,
timestamps, then you need to put it in there.
yeah,
Right. But
yeah. It's
how could they?
lazy.
I mean, whether it's 125, 130, how could they possibly be at the corner club at 1:30 and at the grub truck at 1:30? Right.
Yeah, well, he does say approximately 1:30. So,
Well, at that time, they did have the grub truck information
yeah,
because guess who gave Olivia and Steve the info? Mr. Private Driver Eric said, "Hey, Steve and Olivia, did you know that there's a grub truck stream that shows the girls on there?" Oh, okay. They knew about this grub truck stream
Private driver. There he
during
is,
this
right
date.
there.
We knew about the grub truck on before this was written up. So yes, there should have been a timestamp
timestamp.
when it comes to at least the grub truck. Maybe you can say approximately 1:30 for
Two.
them,
Yeah, 1:32.
but why say approximately when you already have the grub truck? It's lazy police work. It's the same reason why Payne had to look on body cam to find out there was a frickin' dog at the house before he wrote this up.
Yeah,
Because
and
if he really knew, he would have known there was a dog at the house instead of finding out a month and a half later.
the probable cause affidavit is facts. It's just facts that lead you to believe that this person committed a crime. Facts. Speculation, opinions. I mean, I'm sure they can throw that in there, but that's not really what is considered. It's facts. It's the who, what, when, how. Like just tell me who, what, when, how. And because they have facts. The facts may be ambiguous, but if it's ambiguous, to which you could say, well, maybe he did do it, it's possible, it's probable, okay. But this is this PCA, I swear, if I was a judge, I would tell them, no, you
Yeah.
need,
Yeah,
especially with the DNA.
This is like a final for your class.
Yeah.
You double check and you dot your I's and cross your T's.
none of
Like
that
the
happened
last
here.
thing you want to do is mess up because of a technicality,
Right.
and sloppy ass work will get you messed up for a technicality.
Well, later on, the infamous bushy eyebrows, right? Probably the two most notorious statements in this entire PCA is the frozen shock face statement and the bushy eyebrows. DM did not ID a photograph of Brian Koberger saying, "Oh yes, that's bushy eyebrows that I saw in my house." It's Brett Payne. Brett Payne pulls up the driver's license and says, "Yeah, he appears to be about 5'10". He appears to look athletic, not muscular, and boy, he's got bushy eyebrows." And then he also changes, he disputes Dylan's statement that she heard Kaylee from upstairs saying there's someone here. He turns it and says, "Oh, it could have also been Xana saying." It's like, why are you changing her testimony? I think it was because to fit this timeline, because he needed to finish up with Xana and Ethan last and then walk out. They're trying to make you think that when he walked past. You're absolutely right, CJ. There's no evidence here from Dylan saying that he left. He could have gone in the kitchen, looked for another weapon, gotten a drink of water, turned around, gone back, gone upstairs, done everything. But I think he changed the testimony. He said it could have also been Xana because she was on her TikTok at that time, because it had to do with the timeline fitting.
Well, I think a lot of the information came from a counselor, because when President Green and the school find out before they even told the law enforcement about what was going on, he hid her admittingly in his own book. He said that he sent out crisis teams to the fraternities and the sororities at 9 to 10 in the morning. He already sent people out there. They already knew. He already sent people out there to go talk to the students. Nobody was talking to nobody. That's where I feel like President Green and the college had all the power and were able to be in those meetings and not the FBI when it comes to the press conferences and stuff like that is because they controlled the information, they controlled the narrative.
They control the
They
narrative.
had
Right.
counselors going there. Oh, it's okay. You don't have to talk to the police officer, honey. You can just talk to me. But just let you know, I do have to tell the officers, but you can talk to me. It's safe to talk to me. That's where the frozen shock phase term came from. That's where the clad in black term came from. And when it comes to athletic, but slim, it's what it, could he have been athletic? I suppose. Could he have been slim? I could maybe. Was he heavy set? No. Well, there's your. It was a lot of could be. They didn't want to talk anyway.
And I wonder
And
if that interview is videotaped anywhere.
I know. That's a
I
good
doubt it.
question.
It's just between us,
That's a good question.
the written statements, and maybe that's who can be. Maybe that is somebody that they have to be worried about if they're exposed as the person that was doing the interviews to the students that were the witnesses of the crime. Because when people are gonna, I feel like when it comes out, this is why they had to use Brett Payne's exhibit when it came to the searches and the apprehension of Koberger, and not the first person that showed up to the crime scene, because usually when any of this stuff happens, they're going off the first person that was
Right.
at the crime scene making this report because they were the first person at the crime scene, not the third or fourth guy showing up. And so this one right here is, the scrappy dude is what I'm calling him. The little teeny dude that just wants to beat everybody up because he's a pit bull. They even police even admit that he was the go-getter. I could see him being like, yeah, like he ain't got no experience. Like when it comes, it's one thing to have the military, but police is completely different. In the military, you're supposed to go after people. When you're police, you don't. You know what I'm saying? You're not supposed to have that approach. It's two different approaches when it comes to civilians. So when you got some dude that has 2 years experience and then he's doing this, it's like, yeah, I'll do whatever you need me to do, because he sees Nate Rosendahl even told you, hey, if you want to come, if you want to rank up, come to Moscow, because you rank up real quick here in their own promotional video to join Moscow Police Department. He's telling you can rank up quick. What's the quickest way to rank up in a town where everything goes the way that they want it to go? I'm going to be the guy that says, hey, guess what? I'll write this, because he's not the type to read the room, because he bases all his decisions off of emotions and not the actual atmosphere. And that's why I feel like he's going to end up being the scapegoat of this whole trial. He's going to be the Mark Furman.
Yeah, you bring up, and that's exactly what Moscow Police Department does. It's whoever goes to the scene of the crime writes up the affidavit of probable cause because they have firsthand information. Do you remember the one guy that was, some people had speculated he was arrested. He had a big bandage on his arm. He was arrested on a domestic, and Kathy Mabbitt represented him. It was Nate Rosendahl who was the responding officer, and someone else. And Nate Rosendahl wrote the affidavit of probable cause. So yeah, you're going to someone else, I think, possibly because the people up top knew that he would just do what they asked and not question. And you're right. Military, you don't have the due process privileges that we have here. Civilians have. I don't care how many investigations he did when he was in the military. That doesn't count for nothing. It's
a different approach.
When you're doing an investigation, civilians, they have all sorts of Fourth Amendment, due process, 14th Amendment privileges that you need to be aware of, or the whole thing could be thrown out.
Yeah, and I did listen to Andrea Burkhart, and she said that you can rely on other statements by other officers, but you know, it needs to be phrased in a way that it reflects that, you know, because when Ann Taylor was asking Brett Payne on the stand, where did you get this information? It should already be in the affidavit.
Right.
Uh,
You're right. I mean,
the affidavit should say that I got this information from blah blah blah, instead of repeating what, you know, the officer said. But whether that's enough to throw out the whole thing, I don't know. I don't know. But you know, it's facts. It's the who, what, when, where. That's why I always say when I look at this affidavit, it's like, oh my goodness. And you know, I do feel for the families, all the families, because this kind of thing can really push you over the edge. And I mean, anybody over the edge, to where they might be chatterboxing, you know, chattering, just talking and nonsense, and not even realizing what they're saying. And you know, to hold that against a family, I couldn't do that. But you know, there are people who dissect the family members' statements and whatnot, and I can understand that. But I can also understand that there's different types of people in this world, and they do different things. I mean, some people just want nothing to do with it. Other people just need to talk about it over and over again, and other people just are quiet, you know. I mean, they don't say much. So it's really hard. I mean, I do feel for the families and the victims, because if this isn't the right person, if Brian Koberger is not the right person, and all these, you know, if he goes to jail, that's horrible. But if he is the person and all these mistakes were made and it gets thrown out, I mean, how is that justice for these 4 kids? I mean, I don't get it.
It's not. It's if
Or the
that's
family.
case, if he truly has nothing to do with it, and you're right, we have not seen the evidence, we don't know. But when you're hiding this amount of stuff from the beginning, when you are going out of your way to hide things that shouldn't be hidden, you have to start saying why. You know, when things are hidden by the government, it's never for a good reason. You know, these trials are supposed to be public. The public should have had some information. MPD should have, in my opinion, come out and said, this is who we have. This is what the affidavit of probable cause should have done. I mean, you see some of them, okay, this is why we believe this person, and this is the evidence, and it's spelled out in such a way that you understand that they probably have the right person. Of course, innocent until proven guilty in a court of law until they plead, but release something, you know, in good faith and to be transparent. They just hid everything from the beginning, and they continue to, and they're hiding things that I don't think need to be hid. I will never understand or accept that these, how many terabytes is it, Audrey? It's like multiple
60,
terabytes.
70.
What is it?
It's like 60 or 70 now.
60, 70. Every single bit of it is confidential. There's nothing they could have released.
You know what
I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
It's not documents, and it's not photos, and it's not music. It's video. I have like I when I tell people I've only uploaded 10%, I literally almost have a 5 terabyte hard drive filled up just with footage. I got a lot of pictures. I got a lot of music. I mean, hello, I had Napster before. Come on, people. You know, LimeWire, Napster. Come on. Like, songs are like 13, 20 megabytes. You know, they're not very large files. Pictures, you're talking kilobytes, maybe low one megabyte, couple megabytes. Video, gigabytes, and that's what gets you to terabytes. I could see like some documents taken up and photos taken up a whole bunch, but I guarantee you it's the footage from every surveillance from Moscow and Washington State every surveillance camera because I really feel like they were just trying to figure out how they could just piece this together. And the only way
Right.
that you can do that is if you have a trove of video footage from everywhere. You could make a silver car pretend to be white here and all this other stuff. But when it comes to the video, that's where I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
that's, when Ann Taylor's asking, we don't even have the video of Koberger that you claim to have. But there
Well,
could be so much that it wouldn't be able to hell, I only upload 10% of my footage, 90% sits on my hard drive because I don't have the time to go through all my footage and figure out what's
right.
what and document it and title it and all these other things. I just don't have the time. I wish I could just dump it. But that's where a lot of the data comes from.
So, I mean, so it's 20. It's the original discovery request and response and 19 supplemental. I think that what happened here is they got used to just going to judge and saying everything here needs to be under seal. Forget about the First Amendment has taken such a beating in this case.
Yeah.
This is such a dangerous precedent for these games, and I blame them both.
They charge DPs.
Right?
They have a history of charging DPs, so and pretending like they got all of this. Look at Ann Taylor's 2017 acquittal, y'all. It's the same people. Like when they did the same thing that they're doing to BK to this lady that Ann represented in 2017,
Right.
slamming her with we got this and we got this and we got this. And then when it came to it, it's like, okay, where's the stuff? Well, and the sad part is after she got the lady acquitted, because it's all about public opinion. We're going to charge you with the death penalty. We're going to tell you that we got you dead to rights before trial. And most of the people took plea deals.
Well, that's what I think that might have happened here as well.
They were wanting BK to take a plea deal. I guarantee you.
I didn't think that they expected that they would have such a, could you just imagine if it was your typical assistant public defender that has so many cases? They weren't expecting Ann Taylor, Eliza Massoff. I mean, she's been like a bulldog about the stuff with the grand jury. Jay, they are fighting hard for him.
Since the first day BK was arrested and he was still in Pennsylvania, all of a sudden Ann showed up, because I remember when BK got arrested, I got a phone call at like 3-4 in the morning. CJ, get up. They just arrested somebody. I'm like, So I hit live and we're going live and we're getting ready to see the press conference. And all of a sudden we're watching a local news station recording outside the house, and they already got a cleaning crew showing up the same day that they got arrested. And this is when I said, oh, this lady means business, because I didn't know who she was. But the day that they had their press conference, and as soon as they got done with their press conference, we went back over to the live stream that was going on at the house, and all of a sudden Ann Taylor showing up, kicking the cleaning crew out. And I'm like, damn, I want that public defender that is willing to be like, dude, you ain't even on Idaho soil yet, and I got my team going out there shutting down this cleaning crew.
They had the HVAC. I mean, it was a deep cleaning system, and
it doesn't matter. They tore down the house.
Right. The defendant is 1,200 miles away. You're not going to give them a chance to take a look. But again, CJ, this happened 2 weeks after the Chief Fry Moving and Storage Company pulled up in a U-Haul, right?
Where they took the vans out in a bag, where they had a pair of vans in the bag that they took out to give to the families, right? Why would the latent print be cleaned up and there just be one? It's because somebody was walking around and said, whoops, I already stepped 1 foot in and I just found out, so I need to back off, clean it up, make it look like I didn't make a mistake, and actually see. Because remember, I was supposed to tell people I didn't know what took place.
Yeah.
But if you step in it.
it beats all. We get into conversations. Sometimes people will come in and say, well, this case over here is very odd. This case. I said, give me one other case where the chief of police literally pulls up with a U-Haul and has his officers act as though they're moving in store and goes in there and takes things out of a crime scene before a defendant was ever arrested. In my life, Audrey has put together such a good series of videos. You still have those, Audrey, where you're seeing, here's Steve Fry, he's pulling up, right? And you're seeing people pulling things out of the crime scene. It's like, what are they taking out of there?
Yeah, golf clubs, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I want to keep that in the public memory because I think it's so important that we remember that they did this because it could easily just be hidden away.
Oh, you forget, and people forget. Like, yeah, I mean, I've forgotten things that I thought, oh my God, I remember that. And we forget things that happened in the beginning. And a lot of times when you look at things, like hindsight, you look back and you think, oh my God, what you know now. And what I know now is that damn sheath. It's not the murder weapon. And the prosecution has a burden of proof. They're going to have to prove that Brian walked into that house with that sheath and left it there.
Yeah.
So I don't know of any video showing Brian walking into that house.
No.
I'm also curious about the injuries because if it's as bad as the Gonsalveses are saying, a sheath or a utility knife did not.
Well, the sheath obviously no.
How do you get blunt force injuries from a knife? Unless it's the butt of it and you're repeatedly doing it for a couple minutes. You know what I mean? Like,
wouldn't you be holding then the part that's the knife part where you're going to get cut if you're doing that, if you're hitting the handle, CJ? Right? Because then you're not holding the handle anymore. You're hitting with the handle. So you're you're holding with the knife part. You're going to get cut.
It's like
that. This part.
And I mean, as an attorney, I sort of think wouldn't care if the house got torn down if I was representing Brian Kohberger, because if my position is that he was never in that house is irrelevant and it only helps the defense. But the prosecution should have preserved the house. I mean,
absolutely.
That is something that a jury might want to see. They may want to see that. And if they're deprived of that because it's irrelevant, okay, so the house is irrelevant. They're going to do some kind of 3D scan. Well, let me just say this. They're doing the 3D scan after the crime was committed.
Right.
So what has changed here?
No, it's right. I mean, down in Parkland, that there was a mass, shoot. That happened February 14th, 2018. They just knocked down that property, that building, in the summer. It was up all that time on a high school campus where 14-year-olds walked past it every day because they had of course they had the Cruz trial, but then they had the officer who the officer that was on campus, he was tried, and then there was a couple of civil cases. It just got knocked down. They were looking to knock this house down like a couple of months after, really quickly. In the spring of 2023, they wanted that house down.
As soon as BK was arrested, they wanted that house knocked down. They just couldn't because of public pressure.
Right.
As a defense attorney, I wouldn't care, but as a prosecutor, I would care because you want do I think Brian Kohberger did it? I have no clue. I mean, I don't think he did based on what I know, but I don't know what's sealed. And if I listen to some people, it's like what's sealed is probably third-party privacy things like videos that show other people or things like that, which doesn't affect the case so much, but they want it to be private. But based on what I know, I just don't see it. I'm sorry. Give me the license plate of the car. Show me video that he walked into the home. Show me that he came out with blood on him and he changed, or show me something. Show me some DNA of the victims in his car. Show me,
Covered knife, bloody clothes,
yeah,
something.
show me, because what you have now is a white car, bushy eyebrows, and some cell pings that could be from anywhere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't
But
know
they're
if
not
they
even-
have the maps because Aunt Taylor kept asking, what did you rely on? And they never said a map from a mapping platform. So I don't think there's physical maps.
Well, they put a map in the. Didn't they put some crazy map in the PCA? Which I
Yeah, it
can't.
looked like crap. I couldn't use it.
I can't make heads
They
or
don't
tails.
have the data to back that up because Cyree said there isn't any source data. You can give it to any expert, but they wouldn't be able to check what is going on here. And even he said,
Yeah.
she was like, is there something you put into a coordinates into a program, and is there something that comes out? Is there output? And he's like, yeah, you would get a map before you put together this cast. So I don't think that there are physical maps that match up with the cell phone data. And we were talking about what's sealed. I think if it would be very concerning for the public to know what these companies like Google and Amazon, what kind of data and how much data they have on a consumer. So they might also be trying to shield that, because that could scare a lot of the public.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information.
Mhm.
But if the information that is primarily sealed is for privacy purposes, not necessarily that they're in danger or privacy or whatever, then what is out in the public, if that's all there is, I can't say Brian Kober did it beyond a reasonable doubt. I mean, show me. I haven't seen it. Sorry.
I haven't seen it either, but once somebody is in the system, it takes very long to get them out. So even if there isn't much evidence, it's still going to take a while to go through all this because the court system, it's very, very slow.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, they're fighting tooth and nail. Look at how long they fought change of venue. I mean, that motion was filed January 30th, 2023. The state fought tooth and nail. If they would have agreed, you know what, there is too much pretrial publicity, we don't want this case kicked back, we'll agree, let's do a stipulation to Judge. Judge would have probably ordered the transfer. It's because the prosecution fought it. So we lost 9 months of time.
Yeah.
Imagine how much farther along, especially with somebody like Hitler, this would have been if this case would have transferred in February or March and not September. You're right, Audrey. I mean, once you're in the system, it takes a long time. And a lot of the reason is because of BS. You know, people just get, they get arrogant. Bill Thompson should have seen and said, what?
They're arrogant.
Change. This does not fight it.
No, I agree. I agree. And it's very difficult because, like, I would look at it like from a judge's standpoint, and when the prior judge and John Judge or whatever his name is, JJJ, I was like so impatient and so like, of course you have the power to do that, dude. Like, because he would say, I don't have the power to compel the FBI. Okay, that's true, but he has the power to tell defense attorney, ask the FBI for that information. And then you realize when the motion to compel came, Brett Payne was, or Mowry was saying, I just looked for the information yesterday. Okay, this was a part of a motion to compel, which defense counsel, which prosecution had the obligation to ask for that information. Apparently he didn't ask. Apparently before the motion to compel, he's looking for information for the motion to compel. And it's like, okay, if that's not a violation of your discovery duties, I don't know what is, because you, as an attorney, have an obligation to ask the people responsible for that information to get it for you, to turn it over.
Well, the thing, it just, I think a part of it, Yoli, has to do with they're comfortable with when they knew that Judge wasn't going to, hold anyone accountable. They knew what games they could. I mean, if it was Hitler, I think that they would have played those games.
Hitler,
right? They wouldn't have played those games.
They're
Like
from the
you don't
block,
tolerate.
you know.
Yeah, you don't. You Hitler is the type you got to do what you got to do, and then some.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're from the block. They all, you know, it's like they go to the same Denny's on Sunday after church. Come on, you know.
I just,
They
but you know,
do. You getting blueberry pancakes today, John? All right, cool. You know.
Babs is
Yeah.
saying JJ is weak and also a classmate of the university president. Who did not? I mean, the question is not who went to U of I. It's who didn't go to U of I. They all did. John went to U of I. Kathy Mabbitt went to U of I. Officer Smith went to U of I. Chief of Police went to U of I. Who's that other one? They all. The only person who didn't graduate from U of I was the canine officer. He's the only one that went to a different school. Everybody else associated with MPD graduated. It's like their little fiefdom. You know, they all work together. I believe. You know, I'm glad, CJ, that you went, because you're kind of giving us eyes and ears of what it must have been out there. I mean, could you imagine being Brian Koberger coming from back east into this location? You don't know anybody. You don't know the lay of the land. They might think you're some type of a weirdo. The way you communicate, you're from back east. You look different. Driving a different car. No license.
Check this out, though. When a realtor from North Idaho says, if you're moving from out of state, the first thing you want to do is change your plates. He says, the realtor from Idaho, which he's leaving now, by the way. We used to watch his episodes all the time when we were covering Idaho 4. They're funny as hell.
In other words, don't call attention to yourself, right?
Right.
You don't want to be an outsider.
When I showed up, I was so thankful that I got a rental with a Washington State plate. No, I'm serious. Because with a Washington State plate, people ain't going to mess with you. If I would have had a rental vehicle with a plate from Montana, oh, you know damn well they're going to mess with you. So, and that's when you have a realtor that is telling you, if you come here, the first thing you need to do is change your plate. That's a sign. That's a sign. So imagine BK, PA plate, didn't get it changed because he's trying to save money until his birthday. You gotta change. You're an outsider. People. This is. I had somebody that used to live in Moscow come on my show when I interviewed him. If you guys remember James, remember James?
Mm-hmm.
We had James on the show. He went to Moscow. He went to Christchurch. He told me about the stuff he went through. He shared some of it on the show, but in our conversations in the background, it goes a lot deeper than that. He just couldn't say some stuff publicly because of his family still residing in Moscow. Him and his family members, some of them, quit talking because he wasn't putting up with the BS from Christchurch and how Moscow wanted you to be. And if you spoke out and you didn't follow how they wanted you to live, they attacked you and beat you down and harassed you and threatened you. And that's with somebody that was from Moscow that moved there when he was a kid.
Well, look at how many times he's like getting pulled over every 5 minutes. You know, he's getting pulled over for what was it? The when he was at the Bed Bath and Beyond, Audrey, that in the August where the Latah County Sheriff stopped him. We don't even know why he got pulled.
There's no video of that. They won't release the body cam of that, right?
Very suspect.
No.
Why didn't they? That's when they got his phone number. I don't know. It's so weird because, you know, when I think of Brian, and the very first time I called into CJ's show, I thought this guy could just based on what I heard. I mean, I'm no doctor, I'm nothing, but he seems like the type that is very OCD, organized.
Yes.
You know, he has a lot of anxiety, and that could be part of the reason why he ended up, you know, in his youth addicted to H. Because he has this anxiety, this rigidness, and he doesn't know how to necessarily relate unless he's loosened up, or like he feels like wound up. And I thought to myself, this kind of person, think about it, who would go up close and personal and just really just with a knife, just start unaliving people. And it's up close and personal. You're getting bodily fluids on you. You're like you're just, there's spatter, there's everything. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy would freak out.
Yoli. I mean, supposedly the story goes he demanded his aunts purchase new pots and pans
Well,
because
that's what I heard.
we have a term called scheme. It's like he could not have his food cooked in food that one time held meat. I mean, he was that type of vegan.
Right.
Very
And
OCD. He's running the vacuum. And the garbage
at
is
night,
really
so you put everything together, and if you've ever seen him anywhere, he never looks disheveled.
never.
Okay.
Never.
The only time he looked disheveled a little bit was when he was being transferred from the Moscow jail to
Right.
Ada County. He had like a little beard, but he always looks, very clean, very, and the fact that he wasn't in a relationship, he's very particular, and maybe he was into knives or guns or things like that. That's interesting, but that he
I
was
am
a
too.
criminology student, right? I mean, he
I
was
am too.
Right. No, he looked like we've all met them. Really, really meticulous, men. Hair never. Hair's going to get cut even before it has a chance to grow. Thick hair. The clothing, everything matched, clean. You don't see, a stain on his shirt. This
And
guy is going to go in and unalive 4 people, like you said, Yoli, with bodily and everything else wrong. The vegan as he is, he's got to have clean pots and pans. He's got it, he just, I don't see it.
I see more of a person that's very clean, like he would do it with a firearm,
Yep.
with a silencer and far away, and sharpshooter or some kind of crazy stuff. But when he's being stopped by the police, he's always like, he starts questioning. Well, did you see that I was in the middle of the lane? Like, he's like nitpicking.
No,
And
it's true. And he's not doing it to be a pain. It's like he wants the details. He legitimately, he wasn't being like disrespectful. Some people said, "Oh, he was disrespectful. He was this. He was that." No, he wasn't. It's like we all have seen these types of people that they're very detail oriented. He legitimately wanted to know, and he's explaining how back in Pennsylvania they didn't have. I think you're 100% spot on with that. I don't see.
But we don't know, right? We don't know for sure. But that's just
very unlikely, though.
Yeah, and we don't know if everybody was telling the truth about what about the pots and pans and all of that. They could have been exaggerating, but he did have a little bit of a social life in high school, I thought. And
then the rumors that he hated women, or he had, first off, 2 women are trying to save his life right now, and he doesn't seem to have a problem with it. And anytime that you saw him at the sales, and if anybody hasn't seen CJ's video, because CJ is probably the only journalist who ever went to the sales where a BK went to school, he's constantly surrounded by women, right?
Yeah, and it's not a very big school either. There's a lot of reports of how, but that's mainstream media. Remember the reports of how he was being rude to servers and getting kicked out of bars and stuff?
Right.
And we don't know what he's like with alcohol, if he drinks or whatever. We don't know any of that. I'm just going by what I saw. But the thing that got me was the no license plate. They talked about these white car, and throughout like December of 2022 and January of 2022, when I first started watching CJ show or other things, I was like, where's the license plate? Like, tell me. Like, it kept bugging me. And then
if you have all that footage,
if you have all that, couldn't you get a license plate? Like something, a bumper sticker that is identifying something? And no, nothing.
Yeah, like if you go through an intersection, they get your tag. and you're gonna get the ticket in the mail. Nothing, no, and every car is a little bit distinguishable. You're gonna have, maybe has a bumper sticker, another one might have a dent somewhere. I don't understand how
Yeah.
they didn't
And
catch him.
and people might say, "Oh, you guys are pro Kobergers," or no, I'm not pro anything. I just want the evidence to see it because we're the public, and if somebody's going to get convicted of a crime, especially in Idaho, the Idaho people should be able to see what's going on. I mean, it could be any of us in any state, and
Yoli, I've had this conversation because some people, this is an Idaho thing. This has nothing to do with the rest of the country or the world. So no, it doesn't. Because when Washington screwed up Bundy, he went to Florida and he killed, a 13-year-old girl, and he killed the people who did this. If it's not, they could be anywhere. We could be shopping at the local, Target, and they could be in the next line. You don't know. This isn't just a Idaho thing. This is something that we should all, and then I think we should all be, at least in my opinion, concerned about the precedent that this is setting of these secret cases. Very dangerous precedent, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because it can be. It's what I've been saying from because I wasn't even a true crime channel when it happened. I had my show for about a week, less than a week, and then the crime took place. And when we came across it, I was like, "Oh, this don't make no damn sense." And that's why we started covering it so much, because I was like, "No, this could be anybody, you guys. This could be anybody."
It could.
I had to talk about it. It was a soul thing. It was like my soul has to talk about it, because what if it was me? What if it was somebody that I cared about? I couldn't not talk about it. And that's how we started. It became this thing where it was like, man, we have to keep talking about it. And then a couple months later, look at where we're at now compared to where we were,
And the way they were unalived is scary. It's scary. It's like, oh my goodness. And I just would like to see the evidence, and if they were transparent, then maybe nobody would be speculating and causing Brian to have this bias, because people are speculating, because it's only natural to speculate. You can't control what people think. And like I always said, in the O.J. Simpson case, my mom and I would sit in the backyard and we would talk about all kinds of speculations. Oh, maybe the son, we would just talk about it, and the Menendez brothers, we would talk about it. And we would just talk in our backyard, and now we're doing it on YouTube. So, even when there's not a gag order, people will speculate. But even with a gag order, it's out of control. And
it is out of control. I mean, this is a big case. Like you said, this shocks the senses.
It does.
4 people. Okay, not that anyone ever deserved to have anything like this happen. You're talking about 4 people, young people that are in the house that they're renting, and somebody goes in and does this to them. And then there's an 8-hour gap before police are called. And then everything is hidden. It goes to what, I don't know if it was CJ, if it was you, or Yoli, it was you early on. It's the gag order that's the problem here with the speculation. Oh, I'm sorry. Judge does not like the term gag order. The anti-dissemination order. Right? The anti-dissemination order is the problem why there's so much speculation. There is no reason why they hid everything. There is no good reason for them to have hidden everything. We have not seen one, and it's crazy. We're having the same conversations that we had months ago, because the evidence has never been released.
Like, people think I'm crazy because I'm so fixated, but now I've got other people fixated on this case, because they're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And you're like, "What?" They're now thinking they may not have the right guy, and yeah, they may not.
Yoli, what is like, curious, what do people that you speak about, just say, what the heck? Like, what are like a couple of the facts from this case that leads people to say this is wild, man? Something.
No license, no car with the license plate, no video showing him parking the car and getting out to go in there. Those are the things that people say. And the car, like what CJ said that the grand jury would want to see, a picture of his actual car, like the car. Not a stock photo, but a picture of his car circling the area, like a video of his car. We don't know if it's his car because there's no license plate, no nothing. And elderly people, older people, they're not savvy on the electronic stuff, but let me tell you, license plate, they'll know. Okay, was it his license plate? That's what they're going to think. Was there a license plate that picked it up? Like something. Did the car park? Like, I don't know that car ever, they don't have it parking.
Right.
They have it driving around and going places, but I don't see it parked and somebody getting out in a Dickies clad in black going into the house. That's missing. If it's sealed.
Right. I mean, to commit the crime of burglary and 4 unalivings, you need one thing. If you look at the affidavit of probable cause, Brett Payne does not one time put BK in the house. He doesn't. He makes you think. He makes you, through creative writing, perhaps, but he never. And how do you prove those 5 particular crimes without having the suspect in the house at the time the crimes happened?
The Bissell black backpack, I remember that.
Oh,
Yeah.
the Bissell backpack.
Yeah.
The one fact that people that I talk to, and I'll be talking about this case to my husband. I'll turn around like he's in the garage already, right? There's no one here. But more and more people are starting, because now we're getting to trial and it's that 8-hour gap that a lot of people do not understand. And the fact that the PCA does not put word 1, like it's perfectly normal to have 4 people unalived and CJ has done the research, what that means, the smell, the smell, physically what that means. And 2 people are under the same roof, survive, but law enforcement's not called for 8 hours. Everybody immediately, at least the people that I've spoken with, and they say, in our opinion, that was a cleanup time. Something was happening in there. They were getting stuff out, doing something. Something was happening.
That's interesting, because the people that I've talked to, that's secondary. The first one is the video of the car, like show me the license plate, and then the 8-hour thing. But people that I've talked to are starting to question it, because it's really strange. Even the legal aspects of it. The legal aspects are even stranger, because it's multi-jurisdictional. You have a Washington search warrant where they got into his house. You have Idaho, you have Pennsylvania, and a lot of people think, oh, it's a federal case because he crossed state lines, to commit these unalivings. But that doesn't make it a federal case. It doesn't. And there has to be a statute or some other reason why it should be a federal case. But people are going to speculate, and that's what happens, and you can't control what people do or say. So trying to prove people wrong, even if you do prove them wrong, it's going to go over their head, because they want to believe what they want to believe, and it's they want to say what they want to say, and so long as it's not defamation or something illegal, then go ahead.
It's like going back to the fact we're looking at the calendar here. I mean, it's November, almost November 30th where I'm at, and we are still literally having the same conversations that we had in February of 2023. You're on one side of the road, you're like, oh, the PCA is only 5% of what they have. And on the other side, okay, well, what's the other 95%? Can you name me 3 things that, no, you're not supposed to know. This is all to protect the investigation. Oh, no, it's not, because we do have something called the First Amendment, and the public needs to, check up on government and make sure that they're not abused. So it's like it's the same conversation.
It is. I know.
When it comes to the cameras, there's actually, because Steve G had made a comment. I made a video a long time ago about it, but he had discussed the biggest question is how did they know that Kaylee and Maddie took the dog out, right?
Yeah.
So Steve G, and I would have to go through, there's so many videos. It was probably over a year ago at some point, maybe a year and a half ago. Steve G had made a comment about video that captured the door. Now, when I was there out here on location, I also looked around for security cameras like I always do when I go out to any of these locations. The first thing I do is do a security sweep because that's going to tell me who caught what. So when it comes to that area, this would be the only area that would have had camera. The 1126 property, the front door is actually back here.
1126.
Okay. 1126, the front door is back here. You can see this dark path right here.
Mm-hmm.
So they park here, they walk around, they go around. This is a porch right here on 1126. That porch faced the sliding glass doors, the second and third sliding glass doors. So this would have been the camera view of that camera that would have picked up the sliding glass door activity.
Wow.
Now, it hasn't been confirmed, but based off of my own recon, and then I take Steve's statements, and that's where I get that this house would have had some kind of surveillance to see the girls taking the dogs out. So I have to also say, if they had surveillance in that direction, then they would have to have surveillance of the person that got into the house.
That's right. Now, that's brilliant, CJ, because that has been a question for so long. We know about the 1112 camera, and we know that, but that's not going to pick up the back of the house.
No.
So is this the infamous Panty house, or is that another home? I'm just trying to figure out where this is.
Well, this house right here, that camera 1112 was facing out towards the porch.
Right. But the one that you're saying has the back?
Yeah, back here. So if you go to 1126, King Road, I'll zoom back. So see the square right here?
Yep.
That's not selected. That's the house. So this camera is only viewing this area right here. This is the house right here. That's why it's not selected, because you can't see through the house. Whoops. You can't see through the house. So this camera is basically picking up anything in that backyard and then coming up around the side of the house. This right here is the sliding glass door. The 1112 is not going to pick that up. It's going to pick up camera over here. There's no surveillance on these apartments right here. On this,
interesting.
There was not any surveillance at the time that I went there, and plus I went through local news clips and I couldn't find any surveillance based off the camera angles that took place the day that it took place or the day after. So you just come up here. This right here is where they park. This is where their garage is at. And then they basically walk around, come up here, and they got a door on the side over here, and then they have a porch right here. So basically that porch is facing that direction right there.
CJ, 1122, as far as you know, your research had no surveillance at all outside, didn't have any sort of ring, or you didn't see anything like that when you were there?
No.
Okay.
And this right here is where the house was at. Let me see here. So here.
Empty lot now.
Basically here, and here. So that camera would have went straight to that sliding glass door.
Right. And they would have gotten that early on because we saw MPD out there doing the canvas right there, the neighborhood, picking up the camera
Mhm.
at 1112. This is right next door to 1112, isn't it not? They
Yeah.
would have gotten that.
Well, it's 1112, then 1118, then 1126.
I
1126.
think
That's
that's
backwards.
that one house where the girl called the cops several months
Yeah.
before the crimes
Yeah.
that her car had been. Maybe they
Yeah.
got a camera after that, or
Yeah, the panties in the car.
right.
Yeah, that's the same house that they took that at. Yeah, that whole block right there, 1118, 1112, 1126, 1118. No, 1118 is the house with the panties.
Okay.
1118 was in between 1126 and
Gotcha.
1112.
And those houses were very close together, CJ, right? A lot closer than it even appears on TV or YouTube. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's scrunched. It's scrunched. Saw several people taking the dog out. She stepped. Oh, are you talking about Dot? No, that was fake from the get go.
There's still people trying to.
I know. And I was the one getting all the hate because I was calling out the hot dog steak, and even people on my panel were getting sucked into it. And I'm like, I ain't having this. This is no, your story. You would be a key witness. Like if you were an eyewitness and you could blow the PCA statements up with your statements, you would be protected. You would be in a penthouse suite. You wouldn't be allowed to talk to nobody because you would be the star witness for the defense that was going to get Koberger free. They don't just let you go run free and not take you seriously and give you a business
on
card.
YouTube, right? Shoot your mouth off.
Right. It's like, that's why I'm sitting there. I'm like, man, this story is just no, because you would be protected. You would be so protected. You would be the star witness if you
would be part of the gag order, I would imagine.
That too.
She was, and Dot was saying that, Ann Taylor doesn't want me to come out there until nighttime. Give me a break. Give me a break. Yeah, it was just
that was just really bad.
It stunk from the beginning. It really did. And
every 3 or 4 months, Dot comes back up.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it. I don't understand it because it's like you can look. That's why the only reason I've left it up there this whole time, that damn episode, is because I want people to really hear, like, yo, this story is so outrageous. There's no way they would even allow you. Because think about it. If you talk to anybody or you get on YouTube shows, what's going to happen to your credibility in the courtroom? They're not going to let you. If you're the one person that can say that you saw 6 people having a cigarette at 9 in the morning after the crime took place, get real.
Did she say she walked right up and started talking? I mean, she joined the group.
It's like, get real. You gotta. Yeah, it was just ridiculous. I have to leave it up, Pebbles. I wanted to take. Listen, like after it happened, I didn't even want to keep it up there because I'm like, man, this is so stupid, and I'm not about the clickbait, you know. But at the same time, I had never gotten so much hate mail in my life. And it was a couple days after that. It was nothing but the nastiest, most ugliest, venomous things that a human can say to another person. And it's like, do you go underwater? Do you think under the surface? Like, come on, let's be real. There's somebody out here saying all this outlandish stuff, and they're not protected. Give me a break. Give me a break. Just the amount of people that can have the the shirts pulled over their faces, and yeah, there's a bunch of cotton off the edge of that cliff. Trust me, it's soft. Okay, like it just come on, man. You got to think for yourself sometimes, and you got to think logically too. Like, who in the hell? Yeah, because I stood my ground. I'm like, I'm not. No, this is a bunch of bull crap, and I got a bunch of crap for it. And then after a couple days, then all of a sudden there was other people saying, no, this is not this whole story. And then once other people, because I'm just a small fish out here, but when these bigger platforms are going, no, this isn't legit. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, sorry, CJ. It's like, no, F you. F you. Because I need sleuthers, man. If I have people in the community that are sitting there not willing to explore all theories, and you're going to sit there and you're going to go out, well, CJ's nasty and this and that, and you're going to go off that without like looking at all aspects, I don't need you. I don't want you a part of my community if you can't, because how are we supposed to get to answers when somebody don't want to look at all theories, thoughts, and opinions? It's not going to lead you to the truth. It's going to lead you to the path that you want to go, not the path that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't believe that people think that shit's real.
Look at how narrow those streets are.
I know, and you're not pulling out fast either.
Speeding out of the neighborhood.
You're not.
Oh.
There's the Chrysler 300. There's the FBI's vehicle right there.
It's crazy. This case is nuts.
It really is, Yoli, on so many different levels.
It is. Legally, legally, it's like very interesting because of all the jurisdictions. You know, you have the search warrant in Washington, you have Idaho, you have Pennsylvania, you have them, you know, and a lot of people think it should be federal, but, you know, it's one of those things that I'm so wanting to hear what Judge Hippler will say about the conflict of laws in terms of arresting him, because I've always thought, and this is just my opinion, I'm not an expert. I don't even practice criminal law, but I would think that his parents would have some kind of something like a civil rights violation for tearing down their home. I mean, going in there and breaking down windows, but
yeah, the door and the windows and stuff, you know.
I mean, they did, you know what?
Could you imagine? I mean, could you imagine being in bed, you know, a couple days before New Year's, you're so happy, your son's doing well, you know, he's going into his second semester, and all of a sudden it's like World War III going on downstairs in your house. They must have been terrified.
Yeah, and he was from what I understand is he was sorting trash, the way I see him is like, okay, this needs to go here and this needs to be here, like, you know, like he's sorting the trash so it's separated and so he can comply with the regulations, you know, like regarding
right. He's a big rules guy.
He's trying to comply, and I just see him like totally like making sure he doesn't violate the trash regulations.
Going overboard, yeah.
You know, like I can't put all this trash in my trash and it's going to overflow. So we got to, you know, I mean, I just see him doing that and I think, gosh, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I don't know.
Is it me or is this house like really creepy on the inside? You know,
it is creepy. I'm sorry. It's just, well, I guess it's a rental. It's just.
But I mean, it's an obvious add-on. You know, the layout of the house makes no sense. You're on the second floor, but it's the first floor from the back. Then you have another first floor down in the basement. So this is really the second floor. And the third floor looks like the second floor, but it's really the third floor. It just, and then the layout, just this little step right here, how a clad in black guy didn't fall over and trip over this little step at 4 a.m. and fall on his knife, I'll never understand.
Yeah.
Look at how narrow that area is. She's opening the door. She's standing right there and he's right. I mean, you're talking a matter of maybe 18 inches, 24 inches. And he's running up and down these wooden, and he's not making a ton of noise traveling throughout this house. Oh, that's creepy. You had commented from the outside, CJ, once of how bright that light would have been.
CJ, are you still there?
Oh yeah, sorry, it muted me.
Oh,
Damn, I was sitting there talking too. I don't even.
Oh no.
Shoot. That good vibe light sign is how they would have been noticed with that doorway. What did somebody ask? Sorry, I was just going on and on thinking that I didn't know.
No, I think that you had mentioned one time looking outside how that good. It looks like a small sign, but it was really. I mean, it illuminated it more maybe than you would think it would.
Yeah, when I first started my show, I had a coffee light, a coffee neon.
oh yeah.
And I had to, because it was so bright, I had to paint. I had to get my art supplies out and I had to use my black paint and paint over the top so the neon light shined out on the side just to dim it down because it was too bright. So yeah, they are pretty bright. And I really feel like that right there, the reason that was there is so that way the roommates had a lit up area when all the lights were off. That good vibe light sign created a light for that step.
Yeah, that step, if you're not familiar with that house, it's a weird step. It's in a weird location. I don't know how he didn't trip. If you're not familiar with it, you're going to, very, very easy not to see it, and you could trip over and then fall on your knife.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But
weird.
There's another thing that what was weird too is when they were standing over here.
Mm-hmm.
You had people, and you could see through the window.
Mm-hmm.
You could see investigators looking over the side and looking at these stairs.
Something was there, CJ. Something was very much there to have caught their attention. I wonder what it was.
Yeah, it was. They're probably looking at all the bloody footprints because of all the people that were allowed to come in here.
Right.
All of the students, the neighbors, the people that they called over there, Sigma Chi. They called.
Yeah,
Sigma
we
Chi
don't. I mean, we don't even know that. I mean, are you talking? Was it 2 people? Was it 10 people? And here's another point. What time did that call go out? Was it 11:30? Was it 9:30? These are. I mean, all these details are. I think intentionally kept out of the PCA.
In the morning. How would President Green know to send out crisis teams to all the sororities in the frats before first responders show up?
Wow.
Because the university probably, that you use their computers,
right?
You use their email, you use possibly apps that they have. They have access to all that information. They have permission to go through it.
Right.
So if you're creating chatter, yeah, there was a lot of chatter on Snapchat that morning, but you can't tell me that people weren't using the university emails, sending information back and forth to each other. They weren't using university apps to send information back and forth to each other. All of a sudden, IT department is calling up the big wigs at the university, you guys, because listen, they got programs and software that look for keywords. When they see keywords popping up on emails and app messages, that alerts IT. IT checks it out. They're going, oh my gosh, what happened? Something took place. There's something crazy that took place. That's why the crisis teams were sent out there before first responders ever showed up. The reason that crisis teams were sent out is because when the girls woke up, they called the Sigma Chi people right across the street to come over because it probably stunk so bad they couldn't even walk in that house and try and breathe. And so they were trying to call the big tough guys to come over and see what, see if they could find out what happened because of the stench had to be so strong.
Well, that's what the
So
first
strong.
responders, they said. They said that, who was it? One of them was quoted as saying that the smell was overpowering. It hit him as soon as he hit the front door.
Yeah.
As soon as he wasn't even in the house yet. Hits the front door and the smell, and that's downstairs from the first floor.
Yeah, so when I first started my detail career about 15, 20 years ago, I first started it. I started detailing, regular limo fleets and stuff like that. I also was detailing hearses and stuff. Okay. Now, some of the companies would transport the people in the body bags in the hearses. Some companies would use vans. There would be people that would come, and because they were lazy as hell and they didn't want to clean it out, they did it to me twice.
Oh boy.
And that's they didn't do it anymore after that because I threw a fit. Because dude would come drop off the car. I would walk out. So I'm in a building. I'm in an enclosed building. They would leave the cars parked out in the driveway on the side of the building. So they would pull it up. They would come in the door, put the keys on the key shelf, and then I would know, okay, there's another vehicle, the funeral fleet or whatever. So when I would walk out the door, I literally opened the door. I'm talking 10, 15 feet from the doors where the vehicle's parked. I literally opened the door, and all of a sudden, boom, it hits you.
Wow.
And these windows, all the windows were shut except for the driver's window was half cracked open, and that's the only window that was open. And so I walked up to it. I had never smelled it before. I walked up to the vehicle, and I'm like, damn, this stinks. I look inside, and there's like this neon green/yellow liquid all over the back. And I'm like, what the hell is this?
God, it's embalming fluid. Was it embalming fluid?
No, it was body fluids.
Oh my God.
From them transferring the body from where they passed away to the funeral home.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
So I called them up, and they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, our guy must have made a mistake. I'm like, you don't make a mistake like that. You can smell it. And he's like, sorry about that. He must have just made a mistake. And I was like, I'm not allowed. I can't clean that up, and I'm not touching it. I said, you got to be certified to clean up body fluids. And so then the guy tried it again later on, and it was really bad. And that's when it's so strong. But you got to think about it. And that's just with somebody that passed away normally. And this is why, people are like, oh, it was so cold in there and it would have slowed down. Listen, I'm telling you right now, what are those juices? The juices are whenever you pass away, all of your organs and your muscles and everything inside your body relax. So when all of your organs relax, all of the chemicals from your liver and your stomach and your intestines and your bladder and your kidneys and all of your organs are excreting fluid. That mixture of fluid is the body fluid that makes the color and the smell and all that other stuff. So when bile, exactly. So, and that's one of the most toxic right there. So when you're talking about the crimes that took place, it's not somebody that it took so long for the liquid inside those organs to get to the whole of your body, because liquid is going to go where it's got an exit, right? So that's why you get a lot of the leakage from the different holes in your body. But when you're talking about the victims and what they went through, you're talking about all of those fluids already coming out with their injuries. They're already mixing together. They're already coming out of the body. They're already going to be exposed to the air. That right there is going to make that house smell so horrible. And there's a reason why, yes, trigger warning. And there's a reason why that you hear reports of one of the girls fainting, unconscious person getting called. Well, yeah, because you probably were trying to run from the second bedroom door to the door outside and you couldn't even barely make it. You're going to pass out because you can't breathe. Your body, it's a normal reaction for your body when you encounter that. Your normal reaction for your body is don't inhale that because it's hazardous. Your body does it without you even thinking. So you're gasping for air because your body's not allowing you to really take a breath. And then you're seeing what you're seeing. You mix those two together. No wonder you're running out the door and you pass out.
That and just the sheer, fright and shock of what, what happened.
Yeah, somebody downstairs isn't going to be running out the door passing out. They might be going, because they just saw a bunch of crazy stuff. But the one that's on the second floor, the one that had to run from the second floor to the basement, that one is for sure going to be coming out. I was trying not to be graphic and using like soft words. So but that's the realistic of this crime. Like, you fast tracked the exit of the fluids instantly. So that's when the smell comes, is instantly.
And that's why first responder said what he said, open the door and it then hits you. He didn't get that far in the house. He said it's something that will always stay with you. We hear this time and time again, like you'll never forget it.
You can't describe it. You can't describe it. The best way that I can describe it, and it's not the smell, it's the potency of take a handful of smelling salts and crack them all at the same time and then try and take a deep breath. It's that kind of potency. It's like a huge basket full of smelling salts and you crack them all at the same time and then shove that in your face. That's the potency of this smell. But you can't describe the smell. There's no description for it. And like they said, you smell it once, you'll never smell anything like it again, and you'll never get it out of your head. Never. So the reason that I think it was so contaminated inside is because they called the frat boys over there to come in and figure out what happened, and one after another would try and make it a little farther and then would have to come out, and then the next, I can't do it, I can, and then they get in there like, oh my gosh, I couldn't make it, Billy, can you try? And then because they wanted to find out. But I think a lot of the traffic, maybe not on the third floor, but on that second floor of what we're looking at right now, I can guarantee you there was a lot of footprints going everywhere. And that's why I feel like somebody, when they came over here, there was a blood trail right here, a lot of blood trail right here, because you had them coming downstairs doing what they did over here and then going back upstairs after that. So you have 2 tracks going up and down, but a lot of the contamination was all over this wood floor. You know, because what was somebody with a footprint, this isn't gonna, to me, it's not gonna be the killer's footprint, because his footprint would have been all over this house. He would have cleaned all of them up. The reason this footprint was cleaned up is because somebody wasn't supposed to have stepped in it, and they thought they could get away with it. And then see, this is where they were located. Ethan behind the door. And then Xana right here. Xana. And then we won't even describe that, but... TikTok. Oh, here's a TikTok. Oh, that's cool.
God, it smells like dirty dick in here. Murphy, you've been a bad boy. Oh my God, it's 9:10. Guys, can anybody drop me to class? I'm fucking late for my meeting. I'm supposed to be there 10 minutes ago. Did anybody do their chores today? Fuck, I'm just gonna do it. Did you see that right there? Oh, shit, you guys. It's 8. Gotta go. Jake's calling. Oh, Jake's calling.
So, here, let me show that. You can see the illumination from that pink good vibe light sign? That's how they saw that person.
Oh, Lord.
Just a little teeny house. Then there's the stairs going downstairs. Kind of creepy watching that.
It really is. It really is.
How sad.
I know, so full of life, young.
Well, we'll go ahead and... Yeah, I apologize if I was grossing you guys out a little bit, but there had to be a bloody there had to be a trail of bloody footprints in the house. How would there not be? Not only from the person that committed the crime, but also from all the contamination of them stepping in the trail. When you commit, think about it, 4 people and that kind of injury, there's a reason why they had to remove half the walls in this house because of the hazardous contamination.
That could be true, yeah.
Yeah, when you're... I guarantee it. I guarantee you that these walls were removed. I guarantee that. There was some parts of this, but I can tell you right now, when you go upstairs, these walls are going to be definitely removed in here. These 2 walls right here. Definitely going to be removed.
You could see that a portion of it was removed in some of the photos from the outside looking in. Later, it looked like a portion of that wall was gone. It makes a lot of sense because look at where that bed is in relation to the wall, right up against it. And you have two grown women there.
Yeah. Yeah, Maddie was sleeping here. Kaylee was up against this. Look, this is why I think Maddie was laying here and she was where she was found, because she literally grabbed the knife, went back up into the corner, and then think about it. Somebody just comes right in through that door and comes right at you.
You're trapped.
You're trapped. You're trapped.
No place to go.
No. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. Hold on 1 second. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, nowhere to go. Look at how small it is.
It's tiny. I mean, it's just with that furniture in it makes it smaller.
Mhm.
You know, and
Yeah. All they had to do is come around here and then come up right here and while Maddie was out, you see how she was at the grub truck. She ain't waking up. She ain't waking up.
hopefully she slept through the whole thing.
I think the person attacked Kaylee first because Kaylee was on top of Maddie, so Kaylee's gonna hold Maddie down. They attacked Kaylee first, then hit Maddie a couple times. Then people downstairs were waking up and wanted to find out what was going on, so that's why they had to hurry up, turn around, dart downstairs real quick, take care of the threats, and then come back up here and finish what they did to Kaylee.
Oh, that's horrible.
There had to be
Tragic.
there had to be trails all over.
Yeah.
I mean, when you hear Kathy Mabbitt in the very beginning telling you that it was very, very messy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, very messy. There had to be trails. They couldn't distinguish. If they didn't have people coming in that house before first responders showed up, I guarantee you they would have had the killer's trail.
Yeah.
The people that came inside ruined.
They contaminate. As I said, it was, who knows how much contamination even before the cops got there. I mean, we don't know how many people walked in there. You got 2 surviving roommates, and then how many other people? That house is not that big in terms. I mean, it's up high, but it's not like it's a 20,000 square foot property.
No, it's teeny. It's very teeny. I mean, look at that room. You got a closet to put clothes in. You ain't got no other room than that. Now this over here, this was it's still a small room, but it was a little bit bigger. But this is where I think they gained access. I think they hid in the closet. Waiting. I think they gained access before they came back. And I think they were hiding in the closet. And then when they came back, took the puppy out, brought him back in. That's when the puppy was awake. And all of a sudden, oh shoot, I got to play with the puppy as I walk around here before I exit the door and make my way to here. Then I go down, I commit the crime. I'm up on the 3rd floor when I'm finishing it up. I come back out this way, the way that I came back in. I leave out that sliding glass door, hop off that deck where I climbed up, and then I'm going scot-free after that.
I wonder if Kaylee was up, if she was in her room, or if they both were in Maddie's room at the same time.
Yeah, they were. Because she had already moved out. So this room was already... She already moved out. She had some stuff left over. But it was basically going to be an empty room. It was an empty room after she moved out. So that's why Kaylee left the puppy in here, because it was an empty room, and that's why she came in and slept with Maddie on Maddie's bed. And then, right here, when it comes to that person that could be stalking and watching.
Oh, yeah.
You got... Is it going to show me? Okay. So you see where this tree is right here? So where this person is standing is right on the road. This is where they took that picture. The reason I can tell you that they took the picture from the road is because it's the same height as the deck. So you see how close the road is to that post right there? It literally slopes down from the 3rd floor deck to the bottom of that post, just from a little bit to our left. down to where that post is at. That's a huge drop. And it goes around this side of the house and then around the side of the house to the right of where we're looking. You have the perfect cover. And the creepy part is while you're sitting in the back, you literally have access to the sliding glass doors and these windows right here to see who's doing what and when. And when did you see curtains or blinds on the sliding glass door? So they could literally be hiding. I showed you guys how close it is from the parking lot in the back to the side. Let me see if I can find that video real quick so I can show you. You could hide in the bushes and they wouldn't see you, because think about if you're in a lit up house and you see something or you hear something outside and you're looking out your window in the dark. It's hard for your eye to adjust to the light exposure, so it's hard to see outside because you're inside a lit room. So when if you're inside of a lit house, you can't really see that good outside in the dark. Plus, the person has cover from the bushes. They can see everything that's going on. They can see who's going upstairs. They can see who's in the kitchen. They can see who DM going into her bedroom. They can see Kaylee upstairs if she's got her blinds open. They can see Maddie if she's still up. They can see Dylan. They can see all this activity going on, and they wouldn't be able to see nothing because of those bushes in the darkness. Let me see if I can find that video. Hold on. Because I can show you how close it is. Let me see. It might be this one right here. Let's see. Add to scene. Here, let me play it real quick. I'll just go full screen on it so you guys can see the... Okay, you can see how close the slab is. This is just me standing in front of the vehicle. That's how close I am to the house. Maybe it's the next video. Hold on. Let me see. Let me try another one. Because one of them shows you, like, it's so freaking close, man. I kind of walked down a little bit. There you go. See, that's that 1126. It's not very far at all. Watch when I turn my camera. There's the slab right there. So as I'm standing right here, okay. Now if I couldn't go to the left anymore because the FBI dude. But if you go to the left a little bit, see this tree that's right in front of us, this bush, this tree. All I have to do is take one more step to the left and I have complete access viewing to the sliding glass doors and the two windows in the cover of darkness. Now, the reason that I know that that light doesn't travel through those bushes is because when I was parked in that back parking lot, I turned on my headlights, and I'll show you this too. When I turn on my headlights, you would have been able to see parts of the house show up if light traveled through those bushes. The crazy thing is it didn't light up, and so that tells me that light wouldn't travel through the bushes to the people inside the house. If it didn't travel from my headlights shining on the house. So I'll show you this. I'll play this for you, and you guys can see the difference when I turn on my headlights, because this is still when the house is there. The house is on the right side. When I turn on my headlights, you'll see it's just the bushes that light up. The house does not light up whatsoever. It'll just take a second here. This right here, you can see the Sigma Chi house middle towards the left. That's the Sigma Chi house. When you're parked back up in the parking lot behind 1122, you literally have a map of a view, a mountaintop view of the only entrance and exit of this little section of the neighborhood. So you could be sitting here and you could know 2 minutes before somebody's going to be pulling up next to you, if somebody's going to be pulling up next to you, because you'd see them pulling in the only access point. That access point is right where the Sigma Chi is, down to the left. You see the lit up area in the middle going down and to the right, and then the other lit up area going to the left. That's where King and Queen Road meet. See those lights flashing? That's from a vehicle parked at 1112, locking their doors. Now, this is important right here. Where do you see, if light travels through these bushes, where do you see the house? And I got headlights on. You can't. So that's what I'm saying. When I get out of the car and I go off to the side and that bush tree is right in front of me, and I can literally just peek around. There's no lights in the back. Let me show you what that looks like. There's no lights in the back. So this is what it looks like when you're pulling up at night. Give me 1 second, and I'll have to fast forward it a little bit because this is a different part. So this is me. This is Taylor Avenue. Look at how dark it is. Sigma Chi's house is off to the right. So watch how dark it gets. And I'm going to go full screen for this. This is how dark it is. I'm going to go through the QueenRd Apartments first. But I'm coming around on this way to show you guys instead of coming up and turning real quick. It's hard to show you the difference. I'm giving you this camera angle to show you how completely dark it is back there and how you have the cover at night, the bushes, and windows with no curtains or shades on them to be able to see what you're about to do. Here, let me fast forward it a little bit. So that's where Linda Lane camera picked up on. I parked right in front so you could see where the Linda Lane camera was at. I basically parked in where the vehicle pulled out and left, that people thought it was a Jeep or a Hummer. That's why I parked in that spot. Same spot. So you see the people that are parked up here on the left. Okay? All of these people parked up on the left live on the back right half of the building that we're looking at right now. The people that park in the parking lot behind 1122 live in the part of the apartment complex that you see on your camera right now. Now this will show you, I gotta wait until that car pulls in. After the car pulls in, look at the difference between where my headlights are and where my headlights are not. Huge difference.
That's amazing footage, CJ. That's great.
You see the difference?
Yeah.
Ain't that nuts? Now, picture the no headlights there, and thank you for the kind words. This is why when people were like talking about, so when the demolition happened and this green car right here was trying to leave and they had to wait because there was the people on the side of the road that were there for the demo, and oh my gosh, they're so suspicious. Look at this, you guys. They parked and they sat there and then they drove around the wrong way of Queen Road to leave. and they were sitting there trying to make it seem like they were part of the crime or something. I literally called Moscow PD and I was like, can you do me a favor? Can you go by and check on the people that park in that back parking lot, because it's dark as hell. There's no lights back there to illuminate anything. And there's people on social media spreading a narrative about this pure person and the lady, because it was a lady. I parked a lot. I parked next to her a lot because that's where I had to park to get my footage behind the house. And I felt bad because I felt like people were like putting this false information out about her, and something bad was going to happen because of how dark it is back there. It's dangerous. It's way too dangerous. And it's not right. And so let me get rid of that. That's why I had to call him, because it's like, yo, man, you guys are like putting out narratives out there. These are people's real lives. They didn't have nothing to do with this. I'm up there parking every night. I'm seeing the people, and I knew it was a lady that was driving the car, and people were putting it out like it was some dude and this and that, and got a wrap on it and all this other. Yeah, the infamous green car. Yeah, it was crazy. But I know I need to upload some of my footage. I just don't have the time to go through it. But I have so much footage of Idaho. But it was important because, just like in any of the cases that I cover, I always tell people you have to document it too, because sometimes you need to go back in time. You have to go back in time. That's why it's important. Whew, I know. Great show. Thank you all. Here, let me drop their links again if you're not subscribed to their platforms. Give me 1 second. And I will drop. Let's see. And we'll have to do this again. I kind of want to maybe do like a weekly Friday night or something, or like a weekly night where every week we'll have like the same night every week, just to kind of plan on it. Because I have missed out a lot doing the other cases that I'm doing. I have missed out a lot. It's acting kind of buggy. I have missed out on a lot. And I kind of need to get caught up, especially on a lot of these documents and stuff. Why is it still showing somebody offline? Oh, did Yoli have to hop off? Or something's happening. But let me see. We'll go ahead and switch it back to that. But I'm going to call it an evening. I want to say thank you all. Definitely check out here. I'll highlight their channels again. I appreciate you all. Thank you to all the panel guests. I apologize to Nina and Hella. I don't know what's it's not StreamYard, but it's EVMUX. I don't know. I wanted to try it. It looks promising, but it looks like maybe it's got some kind of issues as well. But thank you for your patience for the transitions of trying to get all of it to work out great and all that. So thank you for that. And I'm just gonna have to try and get used to it, and it'll get better every day. But I don't know. I thought it was pretty neat. the different things that we can do. We got chat up there for people that are just watching on TV, and cool little comment highlights there, stuff like that. I guess with super chats and stuff like that, it's also supposed to do like a some kind of notification type display thing or something too. So that'll be pretty interesting. We'll get some, and then we got some of these things too. We got like the crowd applause, and and the trumpet. Stuff to mess around with, stuff to figure out, and to mess with some more. But yeah, I don't know if Friday nights are good. Let me know. I had a great time. It was nice hanging out with some OGs and some new people, and talking Idaho 4 again, and facts and information. So I'd like to try and do this on a weekly thing. We'll see though. We'll figure out something. Whatever's good for everybody else is what it's about. I could do it any night. So I'll probably end up using this tomorrow night. We're gonna have a Sebastian Rogers show. I wouldn't click on the noti because it's gonna have a new noti coming out, because that one's with StreamYard. So I'll have a new noti for that. We're doing a big show tomorrow on Sebastian. We're going to be going over the day Sebastian disappeared, the dispatch audio, the helicopter video, the night lights, the manhole, the maps, the recon, everything. We'll be going through that. And then we got some Micah and Amber shows coming up, and then I'm going to be starting to cover some other cases too. So I want to say thank you all for being here tonight. Appreciate it very much. Thank you everybody on the panel. I couldn't have this kind of show if it wasn't for you all helping out as well. So it means everything. It didn't do nothing with Pam with the $2 super chat, number one CJ. It didn't do nothing. Why didn't it do nothing? I'll have to look it up. It said like some kind of, what was it? It was some kind of, I don't know. I'll have to look it up. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow. I might pop on tomorrow during the day and cover something we haven't covered yet. I'm not sure. I want to figure this out some more. But we'll definitely be back tomorrow night. And again, thank you all so much. Thank you, panel. Appreciate you. And hopefully we can do it again on next Friday. I want to try and have 2 shows a week on Idaho 4. One for sure on a Friday, and then another one on whatever day that we want to cover it and hang out. So I do want to do 2 shows coming up at least every week. So I can't wait. Thank you all. Appreciate you very much. And we will. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, thanks for having me, CJ. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it was. And thank you for coming up here too. Definitely check out their channels. Go sub up. They do some good stuff, and we'll be getting together again. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Peaceful, positive night. Stay warm, and we'll see you tomorrow. Love you guys.